Hey there, want to make your voice heard at a Board of Supervisors meeting? We're all ears. Here's how you can get involved. First, hop online and look at the agendas. This will give you the scoop on what's coming up before the board. Each agenda item includes a brief description of the issue, the recommendations, and potential impacts. If you need more detail, check out the detailed reports online. Those are called board letters. Then, decide if you want to speak at Tuesday's general legislative session or Wednesday's land use session. You'll have 3 opportunities to have your say. Let's start with non-agenda public comment. This is your chance to talk about things that aren't on the agenda, but try and keep your topic related to county government. For non-agenda public comments, you can speak at either the Tuesday or Wednesday session, but not both. So, pick your day accordingly. And keep in mind, the board can't act on the spot. They'll refer your comments to the Chief Administrative Officer, who will look into the issue. Last thing, the board will hear from the first 10 speakers, 5 in person and 5 by phone at the beginning of the session. Then all the remaining speakers will get their chance to speak after the discussion items. During the consent agenda, the board handles a bunch of routine items with one vote. If you want to comment on an item, keep it simple. For example, I'm John Doe speaking on item 5, and I agree with approving the contract. Discussion items are the main event where the board debates before making a decision. Want to speak at one of the meetings? It's really easy. Just hop online and fill out a quick request form at publiccomment.sandiegocounty.gov. Pick the meeting you're interested in, hit the register button, then fill in your details. Make sure to include a phone number if you plan on speaking by phone. Prefer speaking at the podium in the board chamber? No problem. Just pick the in-person option. After that, just check off the agenda items you want to talk about and let them know you're for, against, or neutral on them. Hit register and you're good to go. A confirmation email will land in your inbox to wrap it up. If you're speaking by phone, the email will include the instructions for how to dial in. Be sure to submit your request early. Once public comment begins on the agenda item, we can't take any more requests to speak. And if you have documents, hand them to the deputy clerk when it's your turn to speak at the podium. Now, you get 2 minutes to speak, but if lots of people want to talk, it might get cut to 1 minute. So, you might want to consider writing 2 sets of comments, one for 2 minutes, another one for 1. That way, if time's cut, you won't be scrambling. There's also a countdown clock at the podium to keep you on track. Once you're at the podium, stay on topic. Stick to the current agenda item. If you stray off topic, you might get a gentle nudge to get back to the point. Keep your comments related to the agenda item's recommendations because that's what the board is relying on to make a decision. Also, speak directly to the board. They're the ones making the decision. When your time's up, it's up. Overstaying might mean getting muted or even asked to leave. Now for some ground rules. For safety, keep aisles and doorways clear. If there isn't a seat, head across the hall to room 302 or the 4th floor balcony to watch the meeting. Respect is huge. Everyone should feel heard. That means you, other speakers, and the Board of Supervisors. Disruptive behavior gets 1 warning, and after that, a deputy sheriff might show you the door. So let's keep it respectful. Your voice matters, and we want to hear from you. Remember, we're all here to make a difference. your turn to speak at the podium. Now, you get 2 minutes to speak, but if lots of people want to talk, it might get cut down. So, you might want to consider
Okay, good morning. I now call the April 9th, 2025 San Diego County Board of Supervisors Land Use Meeting to order. Ryan, please call the roll for today's session.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. Supervisor Anderson. Here. Supervisor Montgomery Stepp. Here. Vice Chair Lawson-Remer.
Here.
And just noting for the record, Supervisor Desmond is absent today.
Okay, that was the next item I wanted to talk about is our order. So we're going to first turn to County Council for the report of actions taken in closed session.
Good morning. There were no reportable actions yesterday from closed session.
Okay, thank you. So to my colleagues, we can take these items in a couple different orders. I want to know if anyone has a preference. We can either do the remainder of Tuesday, which is items 19 through 22, and then turn to consent, and then turn to item 4 on the land use session, or we can begin with land use and then do the remainder of Tuesday after that. Does anyone have a preference?
Somebody sent out a memo requesting people call in at 9:30 for item 22. It wasn't my office, but if we do the land use first, a lot of those folks are planning on speaking around 9:30. I believe it was in support for that item.
Monica, do you have a preference?
Well, my assumption was that we would just continue on from yesterday and then go into land use. That was just the assumption.
That's fine.
But I don't necessarily have a preference.
Okay, so why don't we do that? So we will proceed as follows. We'll do items 19 to 22, which is the Tuesday items. And then after that, because I do see a number of individuals here around item 4 for tomorrow, so then we'll do item 4, and then after that, we'll do consent. Okay? Great. So let's begin, please, with any non-agenda public communication. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board on subject matters within the board's jurisdiction, but not an item on the meeting agenda. The only action the board may take is a referral to the CAO. Under the board's rules, speakers can only speak once per meeting for non-agenda public communication, either at yesterday's session or today's session, but not both. To better facilitate the meeting for non-agenda public comment, we have 5 speakers in person and 5 speakers by phone, and the rest will be heard at the close of today's session. Additionally, in accordance with the board rules, in order to ensure timely completion of the agenda, for any discussion item with 10 or more speakers, individuals will have 1 minute to share their opinion at the chair's discretion. A reminder, according to Rule 4A, members of the public are non-English speaking and need interpretation assistance. Receive twice the allotted time for the comments. And a final reminder, according to the board's rules of procedures, audience members shall not whistle, clap, stomp feet, or do anything that disrupts the proceedings. If you disrupt the meeting, you will be given 1 warning. After that 1 warning, if you disrupt the meeting again, you will be directed to leave the chamber for the remainder of the meeting. Ryan, please call the non-agenda speakers.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 7 total requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda, 3 individuals in person, and 4 requesting to speak by phone. For those that have requested to speak by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll go ahead and begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. You'll then have 2 minutes to address the board. Please begin please begin by stating your name for the audio record, and I'd like to invite forward the first 3 individuals, Dorothea, Robert, and Susan, and you may line up in any order.
Honorable San Diego County Board of Supervisors. I drove 43 miles down here because I'm not getting anywhere fast with your traffic public works guys who are starting again on Gopher Canyon Road, which is in North County. I feel bad that Mr. Desmond is not here. we're here because of this horrible concept of putting these rumble strips and cutting them into the road. I don't know who's getting money to do that job, a private contractor or somebody bought a new machine. But right now, those rumble strips are blasting 2 horses at 1906 Gopher Canyon Road. It just breaks my heart. This is not a state-designated freeway. It's not a state-numbered highway or county. It's a country road where horses live out there, and this is happening all over, coming with this machine that digs trenches. And now we had one down the middle of the road, and they're in the process of, they cut 2 more in the first mile on the outsides and in between the lanes, as well as in the center. This is harassment on this, because I've come down here and spoke about it, and I've gone to the Bonsall Community Sponsor Group about it, because we can hear that brum from 800 feet away. It does not make cars go slower. It does not keep cars from flying off the sides of the road when they speed or they're drunk or they fall asleep. Please, I'd like you to fire that guy. He came to a meeting and he didn't lower the speed limit even.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Robert Gurman. The San Diego Air Pollution Control District was informed a few weeks ago that the Montgomery-Gibbs Executive Airport is at this time the busiest general aviation airport in the U.S. As such, the airport is now the largest single source of lead emissions in the United States. To be clear, Montgomery-Gibbs Executive Airport has gone past the 1 ton of lead emissions per year mark, and EPA Region Number 9 has been alerted and has been petitioned to monitor the airport for lead emissions. To be crystal clear, Montgomery-Gibbs Airport poisons more children with lead than any other airport in the world. To be helpful in your processing of this information, the airport is located in District 6 of San Diego, is the worst airport for lead emissions on this planet, and Gillespie Field in El Cajon is right behind them. And this is a letter of notification. And any questions? I'd like to also volunteer, since it looks like I have a couple of minutes, that both of these airports, Montgomery-Gibbs and Gillespie Field, are in Joel Anderson's district, just to remind him. Thank you.
Thank you. And final call for Susan. Not seeing any movement in the chamber. We do not have any of our phone callers called in, so with that noted, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that finishes non-agenda public communication for this morning.
Okay, thank you very much. So just a reminder on the order of the agenda, in case people missed it, we're going to do the remainder of Tuesday discussion items, that's 19 through 22. After that, we will do item 4 from today. That is the item that's the notice public hearing, the appeal of the secure space self-storage item. And then after that, we will do consent. Okay, thank you very much. Let's begin with item 19. This is the item I had brought previously, preventing federally funded program recipients with a notice of funding at risk. I want to just kind of take a couple minutes to remind folks about this item and why I brought it. And I think we are seeing a really uncertain moment right now in Washington in terms of what programs are going to continue and which ones are no longer going to continue. And that has an immediate impact on people in our community, particularly in terms of programs that they rely on day to day, that they know that they receive in part through how the county administers those programs, but it's funding from Washington. At this point, it's still speculative as to what may or may not be cut, but we do know that it's looking fairly likely that there are going to be pretty significant cuts of some kind. Just last week, we received a notice of $40 million that has been clawed back and has been terminated. $40 million is federal funding for our public health lab. That money was slated to be used to buy new equipment for the public health lab, to actually buy the lab equipment. We have a building that's now empty because we don't have any equipment, and was also slated to be used to administer hepatitis A tests in the community, especially among our unhoused population, as well as a number of other really important public health related expenditures. So while we don't know quite the scope or shape of what funding may be cut, we do know that there's already $40 million that we can count, and there may be more coming. So the purpose of this item was to prepare us to get our ask or CEO to make a plan to notify folks that their funding is at risk once we have greater clarity regarding what funding, and if any, is specifically at risk, but just acknowledging that this is something that people should be aware of. We're talking often about services people rely on every single day. We're talking about food, we're talking about housing, we're talking about healthcare. These are really basic services that people rely on, and I just want to make sure that they have a heads up that this is happening, and that they are aware. And I want to remind everybody that my colleague Supervisor Montgomery Stepp added on that we should, at the same time, if we're going to send these notices, that we also should develop a stopgap plan of where they could go for immediate help, acknowledging that it won't be a permanent solution, that we can't permanently plug a gap of, $500 or $1 billion that might not come to San Diego, but certainly we need to be developing some kind of stopgap plan so that if they did receive a notice of funding at risk, that they'd also know where they could go for some immediate relief if the federal government does, sort of stop funding the healthcare and food and housing that people are relying on day to day to meet their basic needs. So that is the proposal that I've put forward. I'd like to move to public comment, and then we can have a board discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 10 total requests to speak, 5 individuals in person and 5 requesting to speak by phone. I'd also like to note for the record, we did receive 2 e-comments on this item. Both were in opposition. For any individuals that requested to speak on this item by phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll go ahead and begin with the in-person speakers as your name is called. Please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. System. I got it. Sorry, a little technical glitch. I would like to invite forward the following individuals: Cesar Javier, Consuelo, and Keenan. Not seeing any movement. I'll invite the following 2, which is Mark Dorian and Ricky R. Not seeing any movement in the chamber. We'll go to the phone. And we have 1 caller called in, so I will go ahead and go to that caller. I'm going to do 2 minutes. Let's back up 1.
Yeah, Paul the Bold. Hope you can hear me. The problem with this item is the recommendation is to report back with notification strategy options within 30 days. The way this government seems to be operating is to make cuts first and adjust later. Like all the people they fired without notice and had to ask to come back. By 30 days, the recipients may well have been cut off already. To better make this effective, I suggest that the funding at risk notices go to recipients whose email addresses you know ASAP and by regular mail to others. On the other hand, I am thinking that the funding cuts have been made clear through the media to most people, unless you're asleep or something. So this comes across like a publicity stunt. Another good thing would be to amp down the fear factor by suggesting alternatives in this letter. They don't need a separate letter to do this. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
What?
It's crazy when you fuck around, you're going to find out that what you guys have been doing is engaging in fraud, waste, and abuse. You wonder why there's federal funding being cut, but when you engage in behaviors like you guys have as far as, killing people with vaccines, not housing people, totally torturing the homeless population, using and abusing them, using and abusing children, allowing them to be separated from their families. I mean, you guys are using $1 billion of our money for AI, artificial intelligence. You can't even do your job. Now you're going to use $1 billion of our dollars to bring something in that could potentially, take over your job, all while we're still paying you. I mean, and you're funding criminal defense of illegal aliens. So you wondering why these things are happening. You need to be telling people it is your fault that this is taking place. You need to quit blaming the federal government when you guys are the ones that have been engaging in fraud, waste, and abuse. It is time to be transparent with the people instead of acting like the federal government is coming after you and you don't know why. Oh my gosh, 40 million pulled from that public health lab. Thank God. You guys have been engaged in crimes against humanity. I mean, think about all the children you're medicating, the abortions and the murders, all the stuff that was happening during COVID, all of the fraud, waste, and abuse during that time. So you guys need to start telling people the real reason why that's taking place and course correct so it doesn't continue to happen. Because the people need you guys, and that's the whole point, supposed to be the point of you going up there and being up on that dais, is to actually turn things around and make them better, not make things worse by the moment. Put money in your pockets, in your friends' pockets, and racketeer. All right? So it's like there's RICO cases coming down the pipe for you guys, and it's pretty ridiculous that you want to sit here and cry a river about this like you had nothing to do with it. So start telling the people why this is happening and quit doing it so it doesn't continue.
Thank you. Your time is up. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to make a motion.
Vice Chair, I will second that motion and just have a couple of comments. Yes, we are anticipating, and best case scenario is that it does not happen, but most likely from all the signs, there will be major cuts to the programs that we have to administer here at the county, including Medi-Cal, which is called Medicaid on the national stage, SNAP, housing supports. And so in anticipation of that, I think that this is the responsible thing to do to notify people. And the bottom line is that these cuts are happening at the federal level or are being contemplated at the federal level in order to provide tax cuts for the 1% in this nation. And so that needs to be very clear. I think everyone here supports being efficient and providing these resources for as many people as possible. But I just don't think that children should go hungry in order to achieve a tax cut. And so I'm fully supportive of this, and I think just a simple notification to folks that may be impacted is the responsible thing to do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I want to uplift that point. I think that's exactly right. People deserve to know what's going on in our country and be able to be informed and make informed decisions. So thank you. That's really the purpose behind this proposal. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion fails with Supervisor Anderson voting no, all other supervisors who are present voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now move on to our next item. This is an item that I brought forward, so I want to make a couple of remarks about this. Then we can go to public comment, and then we can have an opportunity to have a conversation among our board members. This item is about really trying to do something about the situation with our fire supply chain. It came to my attention through conversations with fire captains and firefighters across San Diego County that we are facing a real crisis in terms of our ability to protect public safety. And it's a crisis that's not coming from wildfires, but from a supply chain that's been taken over by corporate consolidation and greed and has unfortunately led to major delays, major bottlenecks, and dramatically increasing prices. Fire agencies across San Diego County, especially in rural and high-risk fire areas like Borrego Springs, are now waiting years for basic fire engines. These are fire engines that used to take between 12 and 14 months to procure. Now they're taking 3 to 4 years. And that means that our firefighters are now stuck using outdated rigs that are breaking down on the way to calls, overheating in 120-degree desert heat, and lacking modern safety features needed to protect crews and residents, including an inability to procure replacement parts because the rigs are now so old that it's become very difficult to replace some of these parts as they've broken down. This is not just inconvenient, it's extremely dangerous, it's unacceptable, and it's deliberate. And I think that's where I personally am so outraged because our firefighters are doing their jobs. They're showing up every day ready to save lives, but the system they rely on to get the trucks and the equipment they need is broken. What's happened is that a handful of corporations, basically led by a few private equity firms, have gobbled up all of the companies and have consolidated the market. So now we have just a few companies dominating the supply chain market for firefighting equipment. And this means they essentially have a monopoly, which allows them to drive up costs and drag out timelines because there's not fair market competition. You know, we all understand the core principle that our markets function when there's competition between sellers, when one supplier is too slow or they're not able to produce something in a timely manner or at a cost that makes sense, then our firefighters could go to a different supplier. And that's really how markets are supposed to function. We're supposed to have lots of suppliers so that when we need to buy a fire truck, we can look around and shop around and get the best deal for our community, for our taxpayers, and for our citizens. But unfortunately, we don't have a fair market in the fire truck supply market and industry any longer because of the market consolidation. So the proposal here would direct the county to evaluate legal and advocacy options to break through these corporate bottlenecks, really focused on antitrust litigation and antitrust actions. This has been frankly, a long-standing strategy that has proven very successful. And here in San Diego County, we've had some really important successes with affirmative litigation, from the opioid manufacturers to the ghost gun makers. And I think we can bring that same strategic focus to protect our communities from wildfires by focusing on the monopolistic practices that are illegal. It is illegal to collude with other sellers and drive up prices. And it is non-competitive, it's distorting our markets, it's undermining fair market competition, and making it impossible for our fire departments to get the equipment and supplies that they need. So I really hope I can count on the support of my colleagues on this. We do not have to accept a system where greedy companies can put their profit margins before public safety. So I would like to make a motion and respectfully ask for the support of my colleagues on this item. Thank you. And with that, we can go to public comment.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 11 total requests to speak, 4 individuals in person and 7 requesting to speak by phone. Also like to note for the record, we did receive 76 comments on this item. 71 were in favor, 2 were in opposition, and 1 was in neutral. For anyone who requested to speak on this item by phone, if you could please dial into the conference line with the instructions that were provided to you. We'll go ahead and begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak. I'll be calling individuals in groups of 3. I'd like to invite forward the following individuals: Cesar Javier, Consuelo, and I believe it's Ilka Weston. And I'll call forward Mark and Oliver as well. Not seeing any other movement in the chamber from anyone else. And per the board's rules and procedures, since there are 10 or more speakers that have signed up, you'll have 1 minute to address the board. And if you could please begin by stating your name for the record.
Yes, hello, my name is Ilka Weston. I mean, this is a no-brainer. Every year we go through the same thing, and we cut funds from fire and safety, and we undermine our fire protection. But the other thing that we're clearly forgetting is fire and rescue is at every single event. This could affect me. I have had to count on fire and rescue because I have something that affects my heart, and I've been fighting UCSD for a surgery that a Republican, which shouldn't be in a surgeon's office, made horrific comments to me. We need to protect our fire departments, our fire and rescue. We need to fight against the monopolies. In fact, we need to focus on getting legislation to create no more monopolies, no more private. We need to stop giving money to the sheriff and start giving money to fire and rescue. Thank you.
Thank you. Calling Mark, Oliver Twist, Consuelo, or Caesar.
How long do we have?
1 minute.
1 minute.
We have 12 speakers signed up.
Mark, you're the biggest monopoly corporation is government. This video on YouTube everyone needs to see. Started at 3 hours and 29 minutes. Also 3 hours 45 minutes.
Once again, the logical conclusion is that since the stock market went up, the California State Teachers Retirement System's pension fund would also go up. In this case, by over $11 billion. And under its statement of net assets, again, we see total assets are actually listed at $159.8 billion. But after the liabilities are taken into consideration, we have total net assets of $129,768 million. Again, an increase of over $11 billion. And so I ask you, does this sound like an underfunded pension fund? The one thing that is paramount to comprehend when we're looking at these
This goes on. I've got 16 seconds left. You people out there need to see this. If you go online, the people that here at the meeting, go to YouTube, go to County San Diego, no spaces, and look at live and to today's meeting date. See this video, 3 hours and 29 minutes.
Thank you.
One minute is not reasonable, Tara.
Hi, good morning. Just real quick, Oliver Twist here. I just wanted to say that I am against this. I would prefer you to not go down this road. You're a broke county and deficit spending, and this seems to be your new MO to find the next big shiny thing to go sue. I'd prefer to see the energy on a balanced fiscal budget and reduce your spending, reduce the size of government. And if you are going to do anything, 2 things. Look into the overregulation in California that has led to companies fleeing the state. And then I would also say, if you're going to sue anybody, sue Mexico. I've never heard you once explore that option. They are the source of the toxic poison flowing across our border. More importantly, it's an international humanitarian crisis. They are poisoning their own people. Where is the outcry about that? Thank you.
Thank you. And final call for Cesar Javier or Consuelo. All right. With that, we will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. Again, when it's your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted. You'll hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments, and we will go ahead and begin with our first caller.
You guys are hilarious fighting corporate and monopolies. Does that mean you guys are fighting yourself? You're saying it's illegal to collude? You guys are engaged in racketeering across the board. And you're like, they're greed before profit and safety. And it's like, you guys are greedy. You're not protecting the people. You're putting people in danger of fires. And it's like, what are you upset that you're not involved in this racket? You know, because then you could be the ones making the money, so you got to then go attack them because you want to be the ringleaders of this monopoly, the corporate monopoly that you guys, you know, are engaging in. It's just interesting because if you weren't putting people in danger, you know, there would possibly be, you know, it'd be easier for the fire departments to actually protect the people. But when you're putting buses everywhere and then you want to blame the homeless when you guys aren't taking responsibility for your culpability and putting people into fire danger, I mean, they're not going to be able to do their job anyway. But it's just funny to see how you guys like call out other racketeering operations when you guys.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
All bold. We should have fought against landlord corporations which undermine rental protections and raise the rent way beyond what it should be long ago. Clearly, there is a problem here, but there is no advisory board statement, hard proof of the matter, or even a copy of the New York Times article that set off this firestorm. I don't know what the problem is. Maybe wildfires, maybe monopolies, or all in your head. Sounds like you may be crying monopoly without considering all the possible causes. Could a large part of the problem, in fact, be specialized equipment being used against fires, which, because of battery energy storage needs, burn 3 or 4 times hotter than normal house or forest fires? Maybe we should limit these instead of crying corporate monopoly as many times as I've heard it. It's good to look into fire.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Good morning. Derek Wixon, CAL FIRE 2881, fire apparatus engineer, paramedic here in Harbison Canyon. Just want to speak on the issue. Tara Lawson-Rimmer, thank you so much for your advocacy and the entirety of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors for your continued advocacy for the taxpayer as well as your local firefighters. We are facing an issue, a major issue of private equity and corporate greed overtaking our fire apparatus production lines. We're seeing massive delays in obtaining new fire engines. We're driving around fire engines that are older than me. They're faulty. They're having issues. They pose a safety risk to our firefighters. They pose a safety risk to the public because of our delays in getting to them and the greater potential for breakdown. I really want to stress the importance of an antitrust suit or something like of that nature moving along because somebody has to take these on. And as firefighters, we're extremely grateful that you guys are willing to be the lion and lionesses that take on this group. They are putting the taxpayer at risk in CAL FIRE 2881.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next caller.
Hi, Timothy Ross with CAL FIRE Local 2881, representing San Diego County firefighters. We're very proud to be your firefighters here in the county. Thank you for your ongoing support when it comes to the helicopters, hard staff water tenders, ambulance, ESARs. We're talking today about corporate greed, putting shareholders over public safety. This is an issue. I drive fire engines for a living. We support Tara Lawson-Rimmer in this initiative, and thank you for your support across the board for San Diego County Fire and public safety. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
Hey, fucking cunts, because you guys could not stay out all day yesterday, I missed the first meeting today because the same code does not work. I called the office, but those fucking cunts hung up the phone on me. So I missed the first meeting. So one thing that I'm happy about is the fact that Amy went around and taught people how to commit registration voter fraud. How do I know this? It's just a wild guess, but when I blind copy
Can you please
her
pause
with
the time? Please pause the time. Just a reminder that we are on item 20. This is the item around fighting corporate greed that's undermining fire protection. Please make sure your remarks are topical and relevant to this item. Thank you.
Okay, cunt, you guys want to go ahead and waste money. When I wanted to go ahead and buy tables way back when I worked at the Registrar of Voters, I could have bought them for $20 a piece. But I was told no. I had to buy them from a particular contractor at $100 a piece. So don't give me this bullshit that you cannot go around looking for other things, because that is a bunch of bullshit. Here's the good news. The Republicans are committing registration voter fraud. Amy is teaching them. If you don't believe me, look at her friggin' tweet. She basically mentioned it. I am glad that John McClain won, because that would mean that the ACLU lost.
Your time is up. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you very much. Before I turn to my colleagues, I was remiss in not just thanking the California Fire Service Leadership Alliance and especially all the fire chiefs locally here in San Diego County for their leadership on this issue. They're the ones who've really been beating the drum and brought this to my attention. So I know I have the privilege of bringing the board letter and asking my colleagues for your support, but I would be very remiss if I didn't acknowledge the leadership of the California Fire Service Leadership Alliance and all of our local fire chiefs on this, and they've been fighting this fight for years and finally came to us for some help. So thank you all, and I hope that we can do something on this issue today. Supervisor Anderson.
Yes, I appreciate you bringing this forward. This is an ongoing issue. But I'm concerned that we have over $130 million structural deficit. We're going to be looking in the budget to make cuts. This is very important, but I'm wondering if the federal government, because it's not just the county of San Diego, it's nationally an issue, in the state of California, if we should be doing referrals to them and asking for them to have hearings on this. The Public Safety Committee in both houses of the state legislature could clearly have a hearing on this, and they would have the gravitas, the power of the AG to pursue it. We're going to spend a lot of money that's coming from the mouths of foster kids and others, and while this is really important, we're only impacting the county of San Diego. I would ask that you amend the board letter to include the feds in the state, and that I have a follow-up question too for our county council. Could you walk us through, if we win this and we're correct, do we get our legal fees reimbursed? Do we get a settlement of any type, or how does that work?
The settlement would not happen. It would probably be just the legal fees, because this is for a declaratory injunction or to set the status quo. We're not going after a necessarily particular company to recoup any sort of injury. It is to break up what would be a monopoly.
So it's not similar to fentanyl opioid crisis. They're not the same, right?
Not the same.
Because in that, we pursued judgments to reimburse us for what we've done in the framework of preventing future harm. There would be no judgment in our favor other than an injunction.
Most likely, unless there were, this is where we need to do the research to look into the possibility of litigation, unless there is one particular company that is an entire monopoly. There is possible that we could recoup something depending on what contracts or what we have paid towards them. So we would need to do the full analysis.
So thank you very much for that. I would happily support us calling on the state and on the feds. I'm not in our financial condition. I don't want to spend money on this, knowing that it's going to come from core services until we can work out our budget. This is why doing our budget in a timely fashion is important. I'm really nervous with the structural deficit over 100 that we saw the last year grow more than double. So with that in mind, if you're willing to take those amendments, I'd be, and I don't have a specific amendment. You're very good on your feet.
Thank you. Can I read what it says and you tell me what you would add to this? It says, direct the Chief Administration Officer in consultation with County Council to explore legal and advocacy options related to fire apparatus, antitrust, and monopolistic practices. This may include, but not be limited to, joining statewide and national efforts, outreach to justice officials, and affirmative litigation strategies. Return to the board in closed session on an ongoing basis every 90 days with updates, so with options we can elect to move forward with. So if there, I agree, I definitely think a lot of this is about statewide and national. Is there additional language that you would suggest we add to more clearly direct that we should be joining statewide and national efforts?
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
That would be, we do a board resolution asking for the public safety, the public safety committees in the legislature to hold a hearing on this, to address this need, and bring forward appropriate action, whether it's legislation or a referral to the AG to pursue it. Because they have 58 counties, they have the same issue. And I think we're stronger when we're together than an individual county. The issue I have with the current item is I don't want to I don't want to choose spending our resources on this over our core services. We're doing everything in the world except for provide for our foster kids and for mental health and for homeless. Those are my priorities. And so this is important, and you know I live in a very high fire zone, and I love our firefighters, and I want them to have the best equipment, but I want to be efficient with our money and make sure that we get a return on that investment. We could spend 6 months doing the research on this. We could rack up a nice legal fee and having staff not working on things that we need them to be focused on. So that's, if we had a budget done and we knew that we had that structural deficit fixed, I wouldn't have a problem with this. But with the structural deficit, I want to be very precise in how we're spending our money until we get that budget passed.
I want to clarify that my intention here with affirmative litigation is just the same as we've run all of our other affirmative litigation, that it's on contingency so that it shouldn't cost us any money. So if you want me to just, if that's enough to just state that on the record, that this should have no fiscal impact. All of our other litigation, all the affirmative litigation we've done is on contingency and has no budget cost to the county. So I just want to make sure that's very clear, that when we talk about this kind of litigation, this is all on contingency and there's no cost to the county.
If it is no cost to your department, then I'm fine with it. So let's go ahead and add that, so that it's absolutely clear and people aren't getting out of their lane because they're excited about a fun subject. The other part is passing a resolution. Maybe we could, I don't know if we can
I'm happy to include a sentence. We could add a sentence after the sentence around this may include but not be limited to joining statewide and national efforts, outreach to justice officials, and affirmative litigation strategies. We could also add a sentence that this would also include a resolution asking the Public Safety Committee of the legislature to take action.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay. Did you get that, Ryan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you put it up? So
yeah, let me copy.
I can see it.
I'll read it one more time. This would also.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. I got to get the language real quick.
Okay.
Sorry.
You ready?
Just a quick, while we're waiting, a quick anecdote. I actually ran a bill that said that you could purchase fire vehicles without paying state tax. It was not successful. That 7% meant a lot to them because some of these fire engines are in excess of $1 million. And when you think about small, poor communities who have fire needs in high fire risk areas, that precluded them from actually purchasing, because that was 70 grand to 100 grand in the cost, and it delayed their purchase. So I've been fighting these fire issues for a bit.
It's okay. Why don't I just read the sentence and you can write the sentence?
I have the sentence I can add up there right now. I'll do that for you.
Okay. It just, this would also include a resolution asking the Public Safety Committee of the legislature to take action.
If I may add 2 words, just to be perfectly clear, a resolution in open session.
Thank you. Yeah. This would also include a resolution in open session asking the Public Safety Committee of the Legislature to take action. Okay. So this is the added sentence, and I'm happy to take that as a friendly amendment.
I'll second the motion if it hasn't been seconded.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Montgomery Stepp.
Yeah, happy to support. I think this is, I think it's a creative way to tackle this issue and address harmful corporate behavior, unfair business practices, but also want to understanding that we have to talk about the money issue, of course, but I think the main purpose for this is to decrease costs long-term as we purchase this equipment, and not just kind of pulling from the taxpayers, but pulling from actual corporations that are intentionally driving up the cost. I think that there's a distinction there where it may not be a cost well, it could be a cost recoverable situation depending on the contingency and you know how this goes forward potentially in litigation, but there's a long-term impact that is going to affect our budgets moving forward, provided there's success in this area, and that is the decrease of equipment. And so I don't want to lose that in the conversation because I think it's super important, but I will be supportive of this. And thank you very much for the amendments, because you know we don't just always have to think about what we can do here. We have to think more broadly.
Thank you, Supervisor Montgomery Stepp. I completely agree. I mean, that's really the core idea here is we're seeing these astronomical rising costs, and taxpayers are suffering, and we're paying out of pocket, and we can't get our fire equipment, and hopefully we can, if we do something, we take action, we can drive these costs down. And I agree, Supervisor Anderson, that we're going to be stronger together, and that if we can, you know, get the legislature and get the other counties on the same page, then we'll have a stronger voice, and we all would benefit across the state of California. So appreciate the support of both of my colleagues on this item. Please go ahead and vote.
And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors who are present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. So we now are moving on to item 21. This is the CENA, the Capital Improvements Needs Assessment. Did we have a presentation? Okay, thank you. Hi, Brian. You're up.
Good morning, Vice Chair and members of the board. Modern and well-maintained infrastructure are key to delivering exceptional services to the public and also providing safe and efficient workplaces for county employees. The county's CENA, a capital investment plan, is reviewed and revised annually to ensure alignment with the board's initiatives, community priorities, and the county's program needs. Given the county's current financial outlook, the CENA looks a little different this year. Fiscal year 25-26, or year one, focuses on projects already funded by program-specific revenue, along with those necessary for health, safety, and legal requirements. Projects supported by program revenue and alternative funding sources are being prioritized, and only critical or legally mandated projects were identified for consideration. The recommendations before your board today will enable staff to move forward with short and long-term activities to align project timelines with anticipated funding sources. Here to present an overview are Marco Medved, Director of General Services, and Jason Hemmons, Director of Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Brian. The CENA is a planning document that includes capital projects needed over a 5-year period that require funding. Each year, projects are assessed for alignment with our county strategic initiatives to ensure they advance community, equity, sustainability, empowerment, and justice. This year, we increased capital planning transparency and accessibility through a collaborative grassroots approach. Residents were invited to 10 outreach events throughout the county over 6 months, leading to engagement with 2,300 community members. The public had the opportunity to engage directly with county staff, learn about the capital plan, and ways to be part of the process. In November, we hosted a One County Capital Open House where numerous county departments were on site to connect with the public. By bringing all teams together under one roof, we're able to actively engage with the community and showcase how programs and resources are connected to specific projects. We also enhanced our online engagement on the Engage website, promoting in-person community engagement opportunities and creating a new video titled How the Public Input Shapes Our County Facilities. In the current constrained environment, this year's planning process included assessment through a matrix that prioritized our most critical projects, supporting those with alternative funding sources or legal mandates in year one. The CENA being presented today recommends $26.4 million to be considered for inclusion in the operational plan, pending identification and availability of funding. The county's anticipated capital funding need across our 5-year plan is approximately $840 million. Currently, the county's portfolio contains 42 previously funded projects in construction now with appropriations of nearly $635 million. So we'll now give you a project overview. This year's CENA recommendation helps to strengthen behavioral health support and public safety while improving our community service across the region. In fiscal year 25-26, or year one, there are 6 projects that support our county's youth by adding a behavioral health children's crisis residential facility and a probation's youth less restricted placement facility. And they will improve the safety of our communities via the Ramona Sheriff Substation and County Fire Training Tower capabilities. And lastly, we'll advance our environmental and sustainability efforts by forwarding critical stormwater projects and continuing to build out our electric vehicle charging network across the county. Planning efforts will continue on 2 large behavioral health projects. In order to continue pre-construction efforts towards the psychiatric hospital conversion to subacute care, existing project funding will be transferred from the Central Community-Based Care Project. A portion of the funding will remain with this community-based care project for pre-construction efforts that will inform development and operations via public-private venture, or P3. Next, we'll provide information about active projects that are in various stages of pre-construction, construction, or completion. Our county team is managing 13 pre-construction projects valued at $70 million, including the Jacumba Fire Station and the Forest Ranch Library expansion. Pre-construction efforts are also in the works for behavioral health facilities, sheriff facilities, and other fire stations. There are 7 projects currently under construction with appropriations of $470 million. Some of these projects include the Casa de Oro Library, the County Animal Shelter, and the Public Health Lab at the County Operations Center, which is currently turning over to the Public Health team as we speak. And we recently completed 2 projects valued at $43 million, including the Ramona Community Resource Center, which provides a multitude of services at a single one-stop shop location, and the Tri-City Psychiatric Health Facility in North County that will provide support to residents in crisis. Now I'll turn it over to Jason.
Thanks, Marco. There are over 80 capital projects in DPR that are in various phases of pre-construction, construction, or have recently been completed. To advance this portfolio, we are using the team's capacity to complete projects that have started. Currently, we have 46 projects valued at $135 million in planning and design, including improvements to Otay Valley Regional Park, Lindo Lake Phase 2, planning and outreach for Butterfield Ranch and Star Valley Park, and Casa de Oro Park amenities. There are 26 park projects valued at $104 million in active construction. The most significant projects include the refurbishment of the Mira Mesa Epicenter, new parks in Fallbrook, Bonsall, and Spring Valley, and the replacement of a visitor center at Stelzer Park. This fiscal year, we completed 9 projects valued at $18 million, including improvements at Sweetwater Campground, a new neighborhood park in Forest Ranch, additional active recreation amenities at Waterfront Park, and various improvements at multiple parks in Valley Center, furthering efforts to enhance recreation opportunities to communities across the county. Now I'll turn it back over to Brian.
Thank you, Jason and Marco. The recommendations before your board today are to approve the CENA as drafted and refer it to the Chief Administrative Officer for funding and implementation of individual projects. Today's action does not approve funding projects. Final funding recommendations and associated actions will occur through the budget process. This concludes our presentation, and the team is available to answer any questions.
Do my colleagues have any questions before we go to public comment? Okay, then please call the speakers.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 9 total requests to speak, 3 individuals in person, 6 requested to speak by phone. Also like to note for the record, we did receive 1 e-comment on this item, which was neutral. For any individual that has requested to speak on this item by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll go ahead and begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak. I'd like to invite forward the following individuals: Cesar Javier, Consuelo, and Mark. You have 2 minutes to address the board. If you could please begin by stating your name for the audio record.
Someone else go first.
I have Consuelo, Cesar, or Mark. I don't see Consuelo or Cesar. Okay.
Mark, all I can say is people need to look at the last agenda item. I held up a video. People need to see how the assets that you guys have that you're not using for us. Started 3 hours and 29 minutes. I showed you everything you need to know in the last video.
Thank you. We will now go to hear from those that requested to speak by phone. When it's your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted. You will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments, and we will go ahead and begin with our first caller.
Paul Bold. I see a number of unneeded projects or projects which could be reduced in scope and too much money being spent, particularly in view of the coming recession or depression or maybe both. I am glad, however, that the FY25 to 6 expenditures are relatively low. I would also double check to make sure that things are used when built and not idle for years, such as the TJ Valley River Park, which is dependent on the area being non-toxic and having a design phase in FY27 to 8, but no construction plan is not good. There are 4 or 5 projects like this. I would also suggest checking contracts for excessive contingency fees or other giveaways. And in this regard, it would help to publicize the database of county contracts or link to them. The more eyes you have looking at these contracts, the less likely is an audit of your whole system. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Consuelo's trying to call in. She was signed up. She's obviously not in person, but if you can actually let her speak by phone so you don't disenfranchise her, that would be great. It's pretty ridiculous that you guys are sitting here and wanting to, open more centers for children. The current centers that you guys are running in the county of San Diego are sexually and physically or mentally abusing children on a regular basis. You've known it for decades. There's more and more cases coming forward, and instead of doing something about the crimes against children, you have a Child Abuse Awareness Month award ceremony giving the awards to the abusers. You're praising the abusers, the people that are ripping families apart, traumatizing children, retaliating against parents, and alienating them. And you're not addressing it. You think that your way of addressing it yesterday was to go and have the social workers, the actual predators that have been engaged in the trauma of the family that you went and talked to have them call and retaliate and act like they're going to do something. Until the children are back, they need to stop making threats to these people and doing what they're doing. And you didn't do anything to help. That's what's so messed up, is it's like if somebody raped you, you're like, I'm going to call the rapist and go have you talk to him. How good does that sound? Like, it's so upside down what you guys do, and the fact that you want to spend more money on a children's crisis residential center or a probation's youth less restrictive placement until you quit hiring pedophiles to work with children in the county, you need to keep your hands off the children. It is absurd what you guys are engaged in, and the fact that this perpetuates because you're not willing to do a damn thing about it. And you have children. What the fuck is going on? You need to do something immediately.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Okay, so I've been on hold. Consuelo, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, so I've been on hold for the last 2 items, and I don't know what the difference is with this call besides the fact that Audra just said that, I was waiting. There's a glitch in this system, so anyways, if you can address that with Andrew. But I was not ready to speak right now. I was ready to speak back then, but I guess I'll just have to speak right now. How long more do I have? How is it?
1 minute and 18
2 minutes,
seconds.
1 minute? Okay, well, then I have to go to my freaking... Okay, so really quick, just wanted to point out that, gosh, Tara, we actually agreed on something when you said the system is broken. Amen. You also mentioned greedy companies. Speaking of cuts regarding this item, as Tara mentioned, in this system where the main focus is to control us and inhibit our growth, there will come a time where the ones believing in this false and corrupt system will learn that they never needed to participate in this rigged game. Just as the birds never worry about where their next meals will be coming from, so too will society learn and know. They will know that they never have to worry about survival. They will know that the scarcity and safety that this government has been selling them were all always just to control them. There is a permanent solution, and it has nothing to do with what this current government will provide. Yeah, I guess that covers all of them. Yeah, our county is not only broke, it's a freaking whiny joke now. You sound a lot more humbled, Tara, a lot more humbled today. Anyways, that's all I got.
Your time is up. We'll go to our next caller.
I'm speechless. The things that you guys are willing to allow just to acquire power is friggin' amazing to me. And the fact that you have a kid and allow it, I mean, I definitely get the 1 minute thing because you want to get back to your kid and you really don't care about what we have to say. And any way you could reduce the amount of time to get you guys out early, you're more than happy to go ahead and take. But seriously, if you weren't sitting there, you would be possibly a victim just like everyone else that you are over. What, you're just afraid to look at the crime? It's not on you, unless if you stop people from looking into it or stop people from doing that. That's when it becomes on you. Do you understand that? I don't want to be listening to this shit. I don't like to know the fact that our government...
Just a reminder that we're on item 21, the capital improvement assessment. So please confine your remarks to that item. Thank you.
Yes, it is. Because you allow bullshit to happen because you guys want to stay in power. And as long as you allow bullshit to happen, you go ahead and stay in power. If you ever it like Nora did, then you get death threats. You're sending over to there. When she didn't go ahead and go with Susan, whatever her name is, from up north that loves fucking union.
Council, are these comments sufficiently relevant to the item being discussed, 21?
They are not. The comments were somewhat hard to hear in the last few seconds, but the ones that I heard clearly were not relevant to CENA.
Okay, thank you. You forfeited your time. As I've said, I already reminded you your comments have to be relevant to the item. Next speaker.
And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that actually concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you very much. Supervisor Montgomery Steppe.
Thank you for the presentation. I think it's an appropriate time to just mention the county's Southeastern Live Well Center Award for Best of the Best by National Engineering and Construction Journal. So Marco, thank you. Everyone, thank you so much. I got it through the County News Center email that I get yesterday, and I was very excited about that. So along with the projects that you have mentioned today, those that are in the slideshow, those that are not, that are all across the county, thank you for the standard that you are setting nationally. And with that, I will move the staff recommendation. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors who are present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We now will go on to item 22. This is an item introduced by my colleague, Supervisor Montgomery Steppe. Would you like to speak first?
Yes, I do. I want to start this conversation off by a few comments and a couple of questions before we move to public comments. I want to start by thanking the Vice Chair for approving the request to late docket this item. This is a proposal to temporarily suspend the operation of County Administrative Code sections 116 and 117 just for this year in order to modify the timeline for enacting a budget for fiscal year 2025-26. Administrative Code sections 116 and 117 require that the board adopt a final budget by June 30th unless it finds it impractical to do so. But state law actually doesn't require this. The state law requires the following: that by June 30th, the county must pass a recommended budget along with temporary authorization to continue spending. That is California Government Code Section 29064. And then by September, not on September, but by September 8th, the county must announce public budget hearings. And that is California Government Code Section 29080. And then by October 2nd, the county must adopt the final budget. And that's California Government Code Section 29088. In the past several years, our practice on the board has been to enact our budget in one step by June 30th. But the unusual circumstances this year require us to modify the timeline and follow a two-step process, which is fully consistent with state law. First, we have a lot more uncertainty than usual about how much the federal and state funding we will receive this year. This is the primary reason why I brought this two-step process forward, and so that this board can have a public discussion about it. Modifying the timeline will allow us to better understand and account for the uncertainty surrounding rapidly changing federal policies, developments in court cases challenging federal funding policies, as well as the California state budget outlook, which also depends heavily on federal funding. The fiscally responsible thing to do here is to see how these things shape up rather than enact a budget based on very shaky assumptions. Second, we all know that the D1 seat is vacant, and I do believe, based on the programming that we have here at the county, we are charged to administer by the state. There is major impact in District 1. If you do really an overlay of folks in District 1 that receive Medi-Cal, SNAP, TANF, and the like, you will see there's a very high population of folks in District 1 that receive those services. especially this year when we might have to make some major budget cuts that could disproportionately affect the residents of District 1. I would just like to say, in January, I think we were all on the same page about the special election to give District 1 a voice on the board. The budget is the single most important decision that we make. So I think modifying the timeline is appropriate here. Under my proposal, we will still have to enact a recommended budget as well as temporary spending authority by June 30th. And then we can take further action in May to set out the specific timeline for the budget hearings and adoption of a final budget. I just want to, before we go to public comment, ask staff a few questions about some of these, potential implications of this proposal. And I want to say first to Joan and to Walter, there you are. Thank you so much for helping my office put this together so quickly. I just have a few questions. One, if you can clarify for us here, if we adopt the two-step budget process that I proposed here, will there be any delays in funding county services in unincorporated areas or otherwise?
Supervisor Montgomery Stepp, if we adopt a two-step process, there would be no delay so long as the government code was followed, which means that we would have a preliminary approval of the recommended op plan by June 30th, as you said, and then also an adoption by October 2nd.
Thank you. And will this two-step budget have any negative effect on the county's credit rating?
So moving over to the two-step process is not contemplated to have a negative impact on the county's credit rating. It is provided for in government code. It is actually, if you look at the wording of the government code, it almost sounds like it's the default. And the one step is something that you can do if you don't want to or need to do the two-step process. What may impact credit ratings is if we are unable to approve or adopt a budget within required timelines, whether it's timelines that are provided for in government code or our very own county admin code. And I'll also note that whether we adopt a budget or not, per timeline is one of the many things that the rating agencies will look at. This year in particular, they are looking at the uncertainty on the federal level and how it might impact not only other governmental agencies, but also the economy, which would impact us too.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. And just on that point as well, there's the one-step process and then the two-step process. Are you aware of other counties, of the 58 counties in the state of California that actually adopt a two-step process and are consistent with that?
Yeah, so I think what we found, we weren't able to look at all 58 counties within the state, but what we found is it's not necessarily the usual thing to have within a county, within our own governing documents, to have something separate and apart from California government code, but specifically other counties that do engage in a two-step budget adoption process: Los Angeles County, Contra Costa, San Mateo, Stanislaus, Kern, and Sacramento.
Thank you.
Yep.
So when will we have a better sense of the state budget's outlook for the next fiscal year?
I will go ahead and share what I've been taught by our Economic Development and Government Affairs Director. So what he shared with us is that we know that we're going to be seeing a May revise from the governor, and so we'll have some additional information in May, but it's contemplated that what we'll see in terms of a May revise and perhaps even an enacted budget from the state is a placeholder budget, and they may be doing additional actions once they get clarity from the federal government, just because, as you know, federal government actions will hugely impact the revenue, that the key revenue streams that the state gets.
Okay, which is why I'm proposing this, but I'll digress from that. Just two more quick questions. As you stated, some of these federal funding policies are certainly up in the air, but what kind of sense will we have as Congress gets closer to passing or, figuring out a budget reconciliation process?
So I think that, to the best of our knowledge, I don't know that we see any change to the level of uncertainty that we are seeing. So we'll see executive orders come down, and then there are responses to it from the courts. Again, what's been shared to us by our Office of Economic Development and Government Affairs, EDGA, is that the federal government will have to take a form of action by the fall, which is when they're anticipated to hit their spending limit.
Okay. The last question I have for you is about our forecasted, our structural deficit. We've heard a little bit of it here on the dais, but we've also talked about that with great intent over quite a few public meetings that we've had over the budget in the last year. And that gap is about $140 million funding gap based on requests and project resources. What is the confidence level in these projections, and what is the status of the $140 million funding gap? And then, going from the status of that gap, what would be the impact if federal state funding is less than expected?
Okay, so you asked a series of questions, and I'll try to answer them sequentially. Okay. The first is, I think I wanted to clarify our $138 million gap. It is a funding gap. So what that number represents is during our forecasting activities that the county partakes in every year, we look at the next 5 years, and we project what we think revenue will be. And it's a countywide effort, because what we centrally have most visibility into might be our general purpose revenue. But that's just a quarter of our budget, right? So it takes into consideration what we see coming down the line in terms of revenue, and then also it takes into consideration what we see coming down the line in terms of costs. And those costs can include cost increases for doing the business that we do today. It will also include new requests from departments. If they have a program that they'd like to deliver more maybe impactfully, they might make an additional request. So the 138 is a snapshot in time of what we saw between what we were getting from departments in terms of what they think would be the best way to deliver their services, and what we projected would be available to support those requests. So it's a funding gap that we have. So that's one question. You had also asked what is our confidence in these projections. So I will share that our revenue projections are usually conservative. We do like to look at the money, not for it. We'd like to have capacity to add things throughout a budget year instead of reallocating in the face of shortfalls of revenue. Generally, right? But we have seen that there are certain revenue streams that are growing slower or actually declining, like sales tax revenue. So that is a thing. And then in terms of what the status of the $140 million is today, so that is something that we determined when we were doing our financial planning. And as we get closer to the release of the budget, that gap is closing. We're required by law, our CAO is required by law to present to you a balanced budget. And so in order to do that, we have to close that funding gap. And so,
and just real quick, this proposal does not change that date, that of the budget, the CAO's recommended budget coming to us with those recommendations to close that gap.
That's right. As far as I know, Ebony has told me that we must be ready by May 1 to release her budget. And so that is, we are moving full steam ahead on that plan. But she will be bringing the budget to you, and when she does, it will be balanced. That $140 million gap will be solved. It will have been solved through many, many strategies that the groups have looked at, thought hard about, and are starting to implement, and have actually started to implement even during this fiscal year. So it's related, the reductions or additional capacity are being created by streamlining, finding efficiencies. We looked across the county to see where we might be duplicating efforts, and if we could combine those. And also we are doing reductions to our discretionary services and service levels.
Okay, just the last question, the impact if federal state funding is less than expected.
So right now, because of the level of uncertainty, that isn't built into our projections. And I will tell you that if we do see significant reductions in federal or state revenue, that will require us to reallocate resources, and it will result in additional reductions. Certainly, you know, when we see something come down the line from the federal or state government, pending board direction or approval on how to deal with that reduction, we would move forward with reductions and reallocations as necessary.
Okay, Joan, thank you so much. I'll turn it back over to the Vice Chair. That concludes my questions and comments.
I also have lots of questions, but I will wait for a board discussion after public comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We do have 26 total requests to speak, 16 individuals in person, and 10 requesting to speak by phone. I'd also like to note for the record, we did receive 3 e-comments on this item. 2 were in favor, none were in opposition, and 1 was neutral. For any individuals that have requested to speak on this item by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll go ahead and begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. I'll be calling individuals in groups of 3. Pursuant to the board's rules, since we have 10 or more speakers signed up, you'll have 1 minute to address the board. Please begin by stating your name for the audio record. And I'd like to invite forward the first 3 individuals: Alexander, Bob Lemon, and Cesar Javier.
I'm Bob, so I don't know if the other 2 are not here.
Yeah, you can come forward in any order.
Okay. Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Bob Lehman. I'm the Vice Chair of the San Diego County Arts and Culture Commission and the Executive Director of the San Diego Museum Council, representing over 85 museums and cultural institutions in San Diego County. I strongly support extending the budget timeline to allow District 1 to seat a participant in this critical vote. This is about equity and good governance, ensuring that businesses, organizations, and the nearly 650,000 residents of District 1 have a seat at the table. Delaying the vote is also just good common sense. It gives county staff time to more accurately assess the impact of federal and state budget cuts, shifting tariffs, and market volatility on the county's reserves. With so much at stake, we owe it to our residents to make the most informed, inclusive decision possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing the other speakers, we'll go ahead and call the next 3: Chris Kenson, Crystal Irving, and Dorothea Flanagan. You can come forward in any order. Thank you.
It's on 11 seconds. I'm Dorothea Flanagan, 5th District, and I can tell you how you could save a lot of money. You know, I didn't even have a credit card until I was 42 years old because I needed to rent a car when I went back to Ohio. So I sure know how to save money, and I have a real high credit score. Those rumble strips being put in up in North San Diego County that are disturbing our peacefulness, quiet, and disturbing the horses needs to go. I don't know who got that contract to be cutting all that pavement, those stripes, so it rumbles off the sides of the canyons and disturbs our lives. I know that costs money to do that. They've done 1 mile so far of Gopher Canyon Road, which is a residential county road. Please stop it.
Thank you. Call the next 3 speakers: David Gassaway, Ellen Nash, and Ellen, I believe it's Bratton. David Gassaway, Ellen Nash, and Aline Bratton.
Hello, I'm David Gassaway. I'm a senior civil engineer at County Public Works, where I've been working for the past almost 18 years. I'm also a resident of District 4, and I support the budget process and timeline in this item to get the best outcome for our neighbors and our community members who rely on county workers for vital services. I also believe it is important to have a budget that invests in workers. Previous supervisors underinvested in employees for a generation, stockpiling reserves. Now is the time for new board members to change that policy. That's why I'm calling on county leaders to draw on those reserves to support a budget and SEIU contract that successfully recruits and retains employees that can continue to provide these critical services to our community. And just on a side note, I appreciate all you all do. You have some very difficult decisions ahead of you, so thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Elen Bratton, and I'm a proud SEIU union member and county employee for just about 26 years. I've dedicated my complete career to public mental health, trying to protect the most vulnerable neighbors and services, and as a program manager. Boy, my phone's gonna not cooperate. Okay. Oh, Lord, sorry. The work we do keeps our community members living as independently as possible by providing access to vital services that they need, like medical, mental health, housing, and financial resources that other community workers provide. With the ongoing challenges we face, it's crucial to prioritize our community's needs above all else. By drawing on reserves, we can invest the essential services that empower our workers to ensure that we do not overlook the needs of the most vulnerable residents. This investment is not merely a financial decision, but is a commitment to the well-being of our entire community and our workers.
Thank you.
I'm in support of 22.
Go ahead and call the next three speakers: Ilka Weston, Janika, and Jesus Gonzalez.
Hi, my name is Ilka Weston, and I am in support of this measure. Supervisor Monica Montgomery Steep has made it very clear that we need to wait till after the election. Well, I took some time and I did a lot of research on Joel Anderson, the man who claims, I care about kids. I want to change the system. Yet when I reviewed all his votes, they're so partisan for a nonpartisan issue. And look how rude and insulting he is. And I happen to just be currently a constituent in his district. He doesn't care about the people. He doesn't care about the county. He cares about looking good in the administration's eyes. We need representation from every single district. And that is what that is what Supervisor Montgomery Steep is saying. And that is what Tara Lawson-Reamer, our vice chair, is saying as well. We need to stick to that.
Thank you. Your time's up. We'll hear from our next speaker.
Or maybe Joel will bitch slap us like he said to a woman before.
I just want to remind everyone, please respect the conduct of the meeting. That is your first warning. Thank you.
All right. Hello. My name is Jesse Gonzalez. I'm a proud SEI 221 union member and county employee. I have worked at San Diego County Psychiatric Hospital for about 13 years. The work I do helps the community by giving essential services to those our most underprivileged populations. Patients come into our facility are in desperate need of stabilization, often off medications, posing a significant danger to themselves and others. We support a budget and timeline that provides a better outcome for our communities. Ultimately, what is most important is a budget that invests in workers and makes sure that our communities aren't ripped apart by the uncertainty. As part of the budget, we urge you to change the reserve policy. Previous supervisors stockpiled reserves under investing in employees. Now is the time for the new board members to change that policy. That is why we are calling on county leaders to draw upon reserves to support a budget and an SEIU contract that recruits and retains staff members. Thank you.
Thank you. Call the next three speakers: Malcolm Glivitz-Getman, Mark, and Oliver Twist.
My name is Malcolm Getman. I'm the vice chair of the Spring Valley Community Planning Group. I've also lived in the same location for over 38 years, which currently is in District 1. We've been kicked around in Spring Valley quite a bit, split between multiple districts on and off for the last 40 years. The big question here is, why would you want to disenfranchise 640,000 plus individuals living in the first district by speeding through and trying to adopt a budget by an artificial deadline? This is a measure that allows you to carefully examine all the options that staff will present to you and make informed choices. Again, why would you want to silence the voice of over 640,000 individuals? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll call our final in-person speaker, Shane Harris.
Mark, there is no budget deficit or gap. Everyone needs to see this video title on YouTube. He'll show you on the .gov website.
This is also contributing to the fund at a rate of 100, 300, 500, and even 1,000% more than the actual employees. To translate, this is taxpayer money. Billions and billions and billions of taxpayer money. This is the government transferring your taxpayer money into the pension fund system. This is the government sucking massive amounts of taxpayer monies out of the taxpayer base, which could otherwise be used for taxpayer services and budgetary requirements to meet the so-called deficits claimed by these thieves in government. But instead, it disappears into these pension funds to become play money for the government wealth and investment scheme. And this allows the continuance of corporate governance through majority stock ownership in most corporations around the world. Does this really sound like pension funds are underfunded?
Okay, people need to see this video. It's 7 hours long. There are different sections. See the whole thing if you can. Such a scam.
Hi, good morning. Oliver Twist here. I am actually very much against this. I have been sounding the alarm for over a year and a half as a regular attendee here about the fiscal cliff this county is on. For those that don't know, the budget has gone up by $1.9 billion with a B, 30% in 5 years. A lot of that was magic federal money that's one time, that's not going to be replaced. You need to get your act together and get the budget in now, and that includes not taking on obligations that are out of your purview, like illegal immigrant defense. This seems to be more of a politicized delay tactic about the D1. I know your hearts. I know you will all do a good job in looking out for the D1 residents. And if anybody has claims of disenfranchisement, that would be Nora Vargas, who chose to knowingly run for an office and then resign. So that disenfranchisement perceived would be on her. Lastly, if you thumb your nose at federal law, be prepared to lose federal money. Thank you.
Before you begin my time, did you receive, for the record, the letter from my office? It was issued to Andrew Potter.
We have.
Thank you. Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Shane Harris, the President of the People's Association of Justice Advocates. I'm here to propose an on-time and balanced budget for our residents countywide here in San Diego County. While I know that item 22 on today's agenda is well-intentioned, and I do agree that D1 residents should be represented, which is why I'm calling for the board to adjust the budget once the new supervisor is seated. Let us remember that County District 4 didn't get this same courtesy or opportunity in the 2023 special election. For the following reasons, I cannot support this. The county faces a budget deficit that is growing monthly upwards of $138 million. Adjusting the budget timeline means that we are extending the autopilot spending of cuts of areas in which we could be cutting. 2, pushing the budget timeline back is unfair to the unincorporated areas such as Spring Valley, where over 50,000 residents will be affected by potential cuts. 3, the county would set a dangerous precedent. And 4, when the supervisor is elected, they can make the adjustment. Please ensure this gets done on time and balanced. And when the supervisor is elected, negotiate those terms with them.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you. We will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. When it's your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you'll hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments. We'll go ahead and begin with our first caller.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Becky Raff, and I'd like to take this opportunity and ask you to, as you consider the two-step budget process, I urge you to prioritize transparency and accountability, especially in programs that have generated significant public concern like the county's potential marijuana policy and draft environmental impact report. I'm asking the board to include a requirement in this year's budget process to provide a detailed, audited report of all past and current expenses related to the program. This should be part of the first phase of the two-step process, giving the public time to evaluate how funds have been used before the finalized budget in October. The public, specifically those living in the backcountry, would like to become aware of all costs, including legal fees and environmental review fees and community outreach expenses. There have been an excessive amount of community outreach expenses, consultant and staff costs, including.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Consuelo. Consuelo. Wow. Before you begin my time, really, we don't get that same courtesy. Shane, you may say you represent the people, but oh my God, you get to finish your speech. We, the ones that aren't getting paid to be there, we are the people. And you need to encourage your people who you supposedly represent to be there. Good Lord. Oh, that was infuriating. Wow. Anyways, back to the item. So, yeah, talk about some humble pie. Again, I'm going to mention, yeah, not only broke is the county, but now sounds like a whiny joke. And you know what? I'm going to just repeat what I said the last time. There will come a time where the ones believing in this false and corrupt system will learn that they never needed to participate in this rigged game. Just as the birds never worry about where their next meal will be coming from, so too will society learn and know, they will know, that they're never.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Rating of the county. The rating of the county is an F. And it's funny because you guys have got $60 million in other pay and kickbacks that have been going out to people that could go to help, make up for that $140 million funding gap. You guys have money in your coffers. You need to start trimming the fat. And the good thing is that you guys, self-implode. And so you get rid of yourselves. But you've been giving salary raises for a very long time. You need to be cutting position salaries, trimming the fat, firing the pedophiles, closing down the Polinsky Center, and firing the abusers, the child abusers, defunding the NGOs that are doing all of these things. I mean, you guys were so happy when you were getting federal funding for, destroying our nation, and now you're like, oh, what are we going to do? Because they're going changing things, and how are we going to deal with that? Well, you guys have money that you guys hide away, and if you quit engaging in racketeering, you would actually provide the things for the people that they need, but instead you fill your pockets.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Wow. Gotta love the budget time, right? You're going to get less federal funding to help out with the migrant crisis, but you applied the migrant crisis to other outreach programs that help out actual citizens. So now you're going to have to make a choice where to cut. So maybe we might actually see homeless immigrants instead of just homeless citizens. I mean, you could probably reallocate our funds to the proper sources instead of giving them away to, other countries. No. You're not going to go ahead and do that. You're going to go ahead and try to figure out how you could go ahead and maintain doing the same criminal actions without the money. That's the good thing about, what is happening right now is that California is getting punished for basically helping out destroying United States. So get back on track.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
morning. My name is Karina Pugh, pronouns she, her, and I am speaking in support of this item on behalf of the San Diego LGBT Community Center, the largest LGBTQ plus organization in the southern border region. The budget must be inclusive of all San Diegans, and this means allowing the voice of District 1 to be heard. Without a District 1 supervisor's voice at the table, district issues like the Tijuana River Valley sewage crisis may be overlooked and forgotten. As staff has mentioned, counties like Los Angeles have already taken on a similar process where they adopt a two-step budget process. It is not unusual. Every San Diegan deserves to be represented in the budget, especially those nearest our binational border, in order to ensure that the budget equitably distributes county dollars. The center supports item 22. Thank you.
Thank you. Go to our next caller.
My name is Rachel. I just want to say that I find it farcical that Monica would ask for us to stop balancing the budget as scheduled when this very county taxed businesses downtown when they shut their business down during Corona. You know what, Monica? Why don't you figure it out? The rest of us do. The rest of us don't have the nice cushy jobs that you do and the pork to get it from. You answer to Lorena Gonzalez. Lorena Gonzalez works for SEIU. So does Tara. All right? This is not about working for SEIU. SEIU used to be an altruistic organization. Now they're another political thug that try and bully, try to force their politics down the county's throat. I, as a regular citizen, am tired of it. You know how to balance this budget. You knew what was coming down. How dare you try and roll it over? We don't want to be LA. LA is an apocalypse. Okay? They are just.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Good morning. My name is Kathleen Lippett, and as a business owner and homeowner, we are diligent in not spending inappropriately or irresponsibly. The county should do the same thing, and they should not get a break on postponing the inevitable. This county enjoyed windfall funds from both COVID and increased property taxes, and it is noteworthy that prior to the new board majority, beginning with Nathan Fletcher, the county was known for its fiscal conservatism. It navigated the 2008 financial crisis without deficits. It is not which party is in the majority that is significant. It is the failure to listen to diverse perspectives. Funding the addiction industry of marijuana has certainly contributed to many of the behavioral problems we have seen grown exponentially in this county, from mental health to homelessness. If the county proceeds with a plan to destroy its environment, along with the residents, I hope.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker. Next speaker is Lita Chavez. Your phone may be muted.
Is it muted now?
We can hear you now. Thank you. Go ahead and begin your comments.
Hello? Okay, great. Elida Chavez, I'm a resident of San Diego County. I'm in support of the 2025 budget process as indicated on item 22. Supervisor Anderson, the County of San Diego should not leave out District 1 on this budget process. We are in a critical time that your present recommendation to not adopt item 22 will affect us all. I am sure you would not want your district to be left out of any San Diego County budgets or programs needed by your district residents. Supervisor Anderson, your support for the approval of the recommended budget as indicated on item 22 after the D1 election will prove your human concern for all residents in District 1 and the betterment of all residents in all districts representative our San Diego County. I would hopefully recommend that you change your mind and help us all.
Thank you. Your time is up. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you. I also had some questions, but it was helpful to hear the public comment first, and some concerns as well. I think big picture, just kind of where I'm at on all this is it definitely feels quite compelling to wait to pass a budget, not only because we're missing a really important voice and representation for District 1. That's obviously a real issue, but also because there's a lot of unknowns in terms of the state and federal budget situation, which means that we could end up adopting a budget that would either be slightly to completely wrong, and we'd have to redo it in any case. So there's a compelling argument. I appreciate my colleague bringing this forward. I think my big concern is I really do think it's vital that we have more transparency and opportunities for public participation in budget deliberations. I know our CAO is planning to come hell or high water, release a budget on May 1st. And so I think we're all looking forward to that and really want to make sure that the June timeframe that people have planned and anticipated being able to engage on the budget is still an opportunity for robust public conversation. So in looking at the item my colleague brought, my major concern was that it wasn't clear that we would be able to continue to have those budget conversations. So I do have an amendment on that front that I want to make just to make sure that we can have those budget conversations in June. I don't think there's any reason we couldn't, but I would be a lot more comfortable with this if that was part of it. So I'll get to that amendment in a second. But before I go there, I do want to better understand some of the concerns raised by my colleagues in the past and also by some of our public comment. What the biggest concern I keep hearing being raised is that if we don't pass an on-time budget, then there will be services that are cut off. I want to, I guess it's a question, I think, through the CAO to Joan. So for example, if I lived in the unincorporated area and my street was scheduled to be paved on like July 10th, right, 10 days after the budget was passed, would that still happen if the budget's not passed? I mean, take that as an illustrative example, but you know, the bread and butter services people rely on, fire, street, especially in unincorporated, would they grind to a halt if the budget does not pass on June 30th?
So the bottom line up front is that likely your street paving scheduled for July 10th would move forward. And if I may provide a little bit of background. So the two-step process, what it is it basically provides for budget adoption to happen by October 2nd. But before October 2nd, what happens is this approval of the budget by June 30th. And that approval is what will give the county team authority to move forward with the ability to spend, which is basically what our budget is. And what a delay would occur, or types of delays would occur if we neither adopted the budget by October 2nd, or we also did not approve the budget by June 30th. What happens then is government code does, I guess, somewhat provide for this situation. And what happens then is if there is neither an approval by June 30th or an adoption by October 2nd, then the recommended budget is deemed appropriated. So then our spending authority rests on what is in the recommended budget, except for certain categories that are listed in government code. Those include capital assets, transfers out, and new permanent employee positions. As well, there are other two categories that just in and of themselves require 4 votes by the supervisors, which would be any appropriations that are supported by the general fund reserve. And then also there is budgeted amounts that carry forward from prior years. Most of that is automatic, some of it is not. The parts that are not automatic would also not carry forward. So those are the types of things that would see delay.
So just to kind of try to translate this to plain English for folks and for myself, so please correct me if I'm wrong. Sounds like if we don't approve or adopt a budget, then whatever that draft budget that Ebony has put together is what becomes the blueprint, and stuff still gets spent, roads still get paved, police still show up, firefighters are there, but that there's some sort of specific categories like big expenditures, like building a new, I don't know, a new public health lab or something. That's obviously not a great example because we already did that, but some kind of major new expenditure that would not move forward like in July or August. So it's a fairly limited, and also that there would be, that we would be able to hire and continue to fill positions that have already exist. But if we created a new position, which I don't know that we're sort of in the fiscal position to be creating new positions in any case, but if that was to happen, then that would not get filled in the meanwhile.
It would be delayed until.
It would be delayed until. Okay, so
Vice Chair, if I may just allow Davia the opportunity to chime in if she'd like on the specific example that you asked from roads. Is there anything that you would like to add, Davia, or?
Thank you, Ebony. To the Vice Chair, and Joan, please correct me. Some of those items, such as road paving, you particularly highlighted, would require the additional action because they might be in some of those categories, but I do understand that to be a category that the board could approve to move forward.
So I think between the two of us, what we're trying to say is if you had something planned for July 10th, likely it was already in motion in a prior budget. But Davia is correct. Large road projects are capital projects. So if there was a road project that was new, that was in the budget, and the budget was neither approved nor adopted, then it would be delayed until formal adoption.
Got it. So if it was already going to happen, it was already in train, because it's coming in July, August, which means we planned it last year, then it's going to happen. If it's some new major project, basically that's what might get put off. Really not stuff that was already going to happen in July and August, because that already had to have been appropriated and planned like a year ago. But it would be a delay on things that might happen in 2 years, but might need to get moving after the adoption of a budget. Is that a correct summary?
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, I think this is complicated. I think, I'm just being really cognizant, right, that we're not in a situation where we don't adopt a budget and all of a sudden government comes to a screeching halt. We've got no sheriffs, no firefighters, no roads, no behavioral health services. That, like, for the most part, we kind of continue on business as usual, but there are some small areas that there might be delays. So that helps, and that makes a lot of sense. I think my other question was just around this budget, the structural budget deficit, right? This 138 million. And I think what I heard from folks in the audience was concerned that if we don't pass a budget, then that will continue growing bigger and bigger. But what you're telling me is that if we don't pass a budget, actually Ebony's recommended budget is the one that we operationalize, which I would imagine is going to have no structural deficit, because legally required by law, she's not allowed to bring us one. So actually, it won't continue growing bigger. It will get smaller / disappear, because she's going to have brought us a budget that is balanced as required by law. Is that correct?
Thank you for that question, Vice Chair. Yes, I will bring the board a budget that is required by state law in accordance with the County Budget Act.
Okay, that's really important, right? Because what you're saying to me is if we don't pass a budget, then we end up with Ebony's budget that's going to be balanced as required by law, which means that 138 projected structural deficit will not continue to grow. It will vanish. Maybe in all sorts of ways that we don't like, because it potentially would be more austere than any of us would like. So there's something very interesting here that what I'm hearing from the audience or from our comments are almost two opposite arguments regarding the importance of passing a budget quickly. One is if we don't pass it, the budget will balloon out of control, the deficit, and the other is if we don't pass it, the services will grind to a halt. And those are sort of like logically opposite outcomes. And I'm hearing you say neither will occur. So that's helpful. Those were just things I heard from the audience that seemed problematic, and I feel confident that you will bring the budget as required by law, which will be a balanced budget. So, okay, that's very helpful. So I think with that in mind, I would be—
Vice Chair, if I may, just briefly, I just want to clarify for purposes of if the board were to approve the recommended budget by June 30th, they could specifically approve, this is under the two-step process, they could specifically approve capital asset expenditures. So if you go to the two-step process, you would not be prohibited from spending in those particular categories Joan mentioned, as long as specific approval is provided.
That's super helpful. Just to, I think, refresh our memory, is the two-step budget process a novel approach, or is this something that has been done in the county before?
It was done prior, I understand, prior to me handling the budget, but what was it that?
We changed to the one-step process in 2018.
Oh, wow. So just really recently. So we really always kind of had a two-step budget process. This one step is really new. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. I didn't realize that. So thank you. This is all really, really helpful. So with all that in mind, I'd love to put my amendment up on the board for my colleague. So this is—
And I'll just go ahead and move, well, let me look at your amendment, because I may include that in the motion.
Okay. So here was my amendment. I just wanted to add this in, which is basically saying to come back with a calendar that accounts for initial public presentation, budget presentations, and community feedback in June. The rescheduled public budget hearing dates for September prior to budget adoption vote as required by law, and any other necessary calendar changes.
I would like to change that to May 6th.
That's fine. I don't care about the date.
Yeah, if we could change that, just so we can have a little bit more time.
Yep.
But that is why I focused on, by September 8th, we need to have this timeline. It's not on September 8th. We need to figure it out. It's by that time. By October, we can pass a budget before that. So yes, that's fine with me, and I'll go ahead and make the motion with that change. And I'll turn over to Vice Chair, but I do have a couple more questions.
Yeah, that was all. So Supervisor Montgomery Stepp, go ahead, and then Supervisor Anderson is up. And I'm happy to second your motion.
And just to clarify, you're moving your recommendations and adding this as an additional recommendation.
That is correct. That is correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Just with the public hearing piece, because if there is no action by June 30th, what happens to the public hearing? It stays on the calendar in which it is right now, so we forego that if we don't adopt a two-step process and don't pass or don't adopt a budget by June 30th.
Correct. If you don't suspend the administrative code, the public hearing process would remain as scheduled.
Okay, all right. So I just want to say one thing. Some of this is kind of reactionary. I know that first of all, I wanted to have this conversation formally and not in the media, right? And so I just wanted the public to be aware that we have other options that are legal, that we can move forward, instead of kind of having this back and forth in the media that really doesn't get to the facts, more so is around narratives. And so that's why I really wanted to bring it forward no matter what the outcome here is today. I do think this is the prudent way to go. It gives us a runway, it gives us more time, it gives us the opportunity to set out a new timeline for the public hearings. I did hear a little bit in this past week about 2023 and that budget, and I totally understand that. But the primary reason here is that we have no idea what's coming to us. We really just don't know from the federal and state budget outlooks. And so that has not been the case ever in my lifetime. This is going to be a very unprecedented time, and so that is why I think that this should have been discussed publicly, and should be a real option for us, because that really is the primary reason for bringing this forward. So I just wanted to comment and kind of respond. I've been, hearing a lot of stuff, and just a lot of it just hasn't been true. And so I want to make sure that we get the facts out there. Thank you for the second, and that concludes my comment.
Okay, Supervisor Anderson.
Thank you. I have a quick question. So when we pass a budget, is it set in stone, or are we able to amend it when new facts, new things occur? For example, under Nora's strong leadership, we passed a budget on time, although there was nobody representing District 4 at the time. And if we had done it incorrectly, and one of my colleagues wanted to change it, would we have had the opportunity to amend the budget? And before you answer, 30% of our budget comes from the state. Has there ever been uncertainty with the state budget? I know for a fact that during the 12 years I was there was great uncertainty to the county. And the same is it also true that 15% of our budget, roughly, so half of the state commitment is federal commitment. So we're only talking about 15% of our budget. And these are all pass-throughs, so they're all very important to us. But do we have the flexibility, if we learn new information, to nimbly change the budget?
Thank you for that question, Supervisor Anderson, through the Vice Chair. The County Budget Act does allow for revisions to the budget post-adoption. Transfers within funds can be made with 3 votes. Increases to the budget overall can be made with 4 votes. In regards to, and I'll allow Walter to add on if he wants to add anything specific to that, but in regards to your question on uncertainty, yes, we have had periods of uncertainty. That's not unusual to have, risk at the state or federal level. Obviously, what we're seeing here in terms of what we're hearing from the federal risk is different than maybe what we've seen in the past, just based on the scope and scale of the Medicaid, Medi-Cal impacts that have been discussed up to this point. So in that respect, it is certainly a little bit different, but we do consistently have risk, whether it's state, federal funding, economic conditions, all of those things. So yes, the County Budget Act does provide a mechanism to revise the budget, and I'll allow Walter to add anything if he'd like to.
Nothing to add.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion fails, with Supervisor Anderson voting no. All other supervisors who are present voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. That was item 22. So now we're moving on to the agenda that had been docketed for today, and that's the land use session. We will begin, as I mentioned, with the item 4. I see a number of individuals here who are interested in speaking on that, so we will do that, and then we'll break for lunch. So this is the notice public hearing appeal of the secure space self-storage, quarry storage, major use permit certification of compliance and mitigated negative declaration. And I do think, Davia, we have a presentation, yes? Yes. Okay. Okay. Our team, yep. Okay, we'll give our team a minute or two to get organized. Everyone can move except Supervisor Montgomery Stepp and Supervisor Anderson, because if you go anywhere, we have to stop. Okay, 5-minute break. We will be back in 5. Thank you. Okay. I'll go do it back there. Okay, we are back in session. Davia, did you have a couple of comments to kick us off? Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Yes, good morning, Vice Chair and Supervisors. Before we begin our presentation today, we would like to address a concern that has been raised in public comments regarding the appeal of the item number 4, Secure Self-Storage Project, that's proposed in District 1 and being considered without a supervisor representing the district. Under the county code, staff are required to bring forward appeals, which this is, within 120 days of the date they were filed. The appeal being presented today was submitted to the county 119 days ago. We did wait as long as we could. As a result, it was not possible to postpone the hearing today based on a lack of a representative in District 1. Thank you. We'll now proceed with the presentation. Thank you, team.
Good morning, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer and Supervisors. I'm Bianca Lorenzana with Planning and Development Services. Today, Ashley Smith and I will present item number 4, the Secure Space Self-Storage Appeal, also known as Quarry Storage. The department is before you today recommending denial of the appeal. The project is identified by the red star, is located within the Sweetwater Community Plan area along Quarry Road, east of the intersection of Quarry Road and Sweetwater Road. The project site has been vacant for nearly 35 years and was used for agriculture in the 1950s and the 1980s. Existing uses in the area include single-family residences, a golf course, the State Route 125 and 54 freeway interchange, the San Diego County Bonita Animal Shelter, the Sweetwater County Park and Campground, and the Sweetwater Authority Treatment Plant and Dam. Today's item is an appeal of the Planning Commission's decision to approve the proposed project. On December 6, 2024, the Planning Commission voted to approve the project by a vote of 4 yes and 3 no. On December 16, 2024, the Sweetwater Community Planning Group, or CPG, filed an appeal of the Planning Commission's decision and voted to approve the appeal on January 7, 2025. The project includes the construction of a 132,000 square foot self-storage facility with 1,023 storage units, a leasing office, and 109 covered recreational vehicle, or RV, parking spaces. The buildings have been designed to fit the architectural character of the surrounding neighborhood and was designed in compliance with the local Sweetwater design guidelines. This slide shows what the facility would look like after it's constructed. The self-storage building and RV parking areas will be open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and will be open 7 days a week, 361 days a year, excluding holidays. The project also includes approximately 1.97 acres of open space and a public trail along the front of the property and around the perimeter of the site. The project proposes several road improvements to Quarry Road, including moving the intersection with Sweetwater Road to improve road safety. Landscaping is also proposed to help screen the facility. Sustainability features include a 160 kilowatt solar panel system on the roof of the self-storage building and 8 electrical vehicle ready, or EV ready, parking spaces, 3 of which will be provided with EV supply equipment. The Sweetwater Community Planning Group's appeal contained 3 main points. For the first point, the appeal states that the project fails to make the required findings because it does not demonstrate harmony in scale, bulk, coverage, and density with adjacent uses, which are single-family residences and horse stables. The appeal further states that the project has a harmful effect on desirable neighborhood character, and the site is not suitable for the type and intensity of the proposed use. Staff evaluated the project and determined that it's compatible with adjacent uses and buildings in terms of bulk, scale, and density. While the appeal focused on the adjacent residential uses, there are nearby non-residential uses, including 2 major freeways, a water treatment plant and dam, an animal shelter, and other commercial and retail buildings. The lot coverage, or the percentage of the property that is covered by buildings, and scale of the project will be compatible with adjacent uses and buildings. Staff analyzed the surrounding lot coverage, which goes up to 31%. The lot coverage of the self-storage building and office is approximately 10%, and 22% when including the RV carports, which is similar to surrounding properties. The main self-storage building consists of 2 stories and a basement. The height of the building is 28 feet, which is less than the maximum allowable height of 35 feet. The site slopes downward and away from Quarry Road and Sweetwater Road and sits at a lower elevation than neighboring homes, thereby reducing the visual scale of the buildings. This slide shows the view of the self-storage facility from Quarry Road, which will be limited due to the topography of the site and landscaping. The project will not have a harmful effect on neighborhood character. The project will preserve approximately 2 acres of open space and provide recreational trails for public use. The project also includes landscaping around the site and along the public trails to help screen the facility from neighboring residences and roads. The size of the project site allows for greater setbacks of up to 200 feet between the facility and neighboring properties. The site is suitable for the self-storage use because all necessary public facilities, services, and utilities are available for the project, including the installation of 2 fire hydrants, and that all access roads are built to fire district standards. The project proposes improvements to Quarry Road, including the realignment of the intersection with Sweetwater Road, increasing public safety at the intersection. Lastly, the design of the project is compatible with surrounding uses. The project was designed in compliance with the Sweetwater Design Guidelines and incorporates similar design elements of other non-residential buildings in the community, such as the use of earth tones, pitched and flat roofs, and exterior walls that are designed to evoke a rustic look and feel. The proposed signage throughout the property on all buildings also complies with the design guidelines.
The second point of appeal states the project is inconsistent with the Sweetwater Community Plan and County General Plan. The appeal identifies a Sweetwater Community Plan policy that requires a market analysis for the expansion of commercially designated land. The appeal further states a market analysis was not done, therefore the project is not consistent with the policy and is not needed in Sweetwater, and it would not be used by the community. Staff evaluated the Sweetwater Community Plan policy and determined the project is consistent with the policy. The project does not propose to change the general plan designation or zoning to commercial. A self-storage facility is allowed in the existing zone with the approval of a major use permit. Because the project does not propose to expand commercial zoning, a market analysis was not required, and the project is consistent with the policy. The major use permit findings evaluate the compatibility of the project with respect to bulk, scale, and coverage, availability of public utilities, harmful effect on neighborhood character, generation of traffic, and suitability of the site for the type and intensity of the use. While the zoning ordinance does not evaluate factors such as future use by customers and the surrounding community, the project is considered locally serving based on the applicant's traffic study. The third point of appeal states that the Sweetwater Community Planning Group voted unanimously to deny the major use permit and states that due process was denied to the Sweetwater Community Planning Group at the Planning Commission hearing in violation of the Brown Act and Roberts rules when the chair allowed the project applicant to speak after a vote was called, but did not allow a member of the community the same opportunity. While PDS considers recommendations from community planning and sponsor groups seriously, there are no regulations that state that a project must be denied if there is a unanimous recommendation to deny from the planning group. PDS works with the local planning group and applicant to address concerns. The applicant attended 6 community planning group meetings and incorporated input from members of the community planning group. This includes a public restroom for trail users during business hours, shortened operating hours, and removal of roll-up doors for storage units facing the south. The procedural rules for zoning and planning hearings are established in Planning Commission Policy PC2. According to the policy, the chair of the Planning Commission has discretion to request additional information from the project applicant or allow them to speak to an issue without opening public comments. The policy also states that time may be allowed for rebuttal by the applicant during public testimony or at the discretion of the commission. Members of the Sweetwater Community Planning Group and the public were afforded an opportunity to speak at the hearing. Therefore, no violation to the Brown Act or Roberts rules occurred at the Planning Commission hearing. The board can take various actions on this appeal of the Planning Commission's decision. The the board can deny the appeal and sustain the Planning Commission's decision to approve the project, grant the appeal and deny the project, send the project back to staff for additional analysis, request for information, and/or reconsideration, including any additional direction from the board, and return to the board within a specified time period. Based on staff's analysis, we recommend the Board of Supervisors take the following actions. Deny the appeal based on the analysis provided in the board letter, adopt the environmental findings included in Attachment B, uphold the Planning Commission's decision to approve the project, make the findings, and impose the requirements and conditions included in the form of decision, and require the applicant to enter into an agreement to defend and indemnify the county in the amount of $750,000, and authorize the Director of PDS to execute the agreement. This concludes staff's presentation, and we're available for questions.
Any of my colleagues have any questions? Supervisor Anderson.
I'd like to hear what the public has to say.
Okay, great. We'll go to public comment first, and then we'll return to conversation of my fellow board members. Thanks.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We do have 31 total requests to speak, 25 individuals in person, and 6 requesting to speak by phone. I would also like to note for the record, we did receive 7 e-comments on this item. 3 were in favor, 4 were in opposition. Any individual that has requested to speak on this item by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We do have 2 group presentations coming from the applicant and appellant. So we will begin with those group presentations. We will begin with the appellant. You will have 10 minutes to address the board. All 3 members of the group must speak during that 10 minutes. Please self-regulate your time with the timer on the podium. As a reminder, each person in the group may speak for no more than 4 minutes. As you come forward, please state your name at the podium before you begin your presentation. And I'd like to invite forward the first group presentation that includes the following individuals: Michael, and I believe it's Garrett, Felix, and John Taylor. Then I'll just wait a moment. We'll have each one of you come up, and if you could please state your name before we start speaking, that'd be wonderful.
Okay, and I'll see the time up here.
I'm not going to start the time yet. I need each individual to state their name.
Michael Garrett.
Okay, next individual.
Felix, Maximus Felix.
John Taylor.
Thank you. And you may begin your presentation.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Michael Garrett, and I am a member of the Sweetwater Community Planning Group. We are recommending the denial of this project. If not, please, action item number 3. The reason being that we would like to have this denied is on slide 2. And who am I having do slide? Okay. The major use permit, section 7358, says that this must be in harmony with a rural residential cul-de-sac. We believe that the scale and the bulk is not in harmony. If you take 133,000 square feet that the building is, plus the RVs, and some people would say that, and the developer will say the RVs are not part of the building. Well, they are. They're a ramshackle group of vehicles. They're going to look worse than a building. So I add that up to 190,000 approximately square feet. That's 4 football fields. I also thought, what big commercial building is that? So I looked up, biggest thing I can think of, Costco, 146,000 square feet. This is bigger than a Costco. Then I just thought, maybe, just maybe, there's something out there that's as big as this. What's the biggest thing in San Diego County? An aircraft carrier. The flight deck of an aircraft carrier is 195,000 square feet. This is 190. It's the same size as an aircraft carrier. It's like landing an aircraft carrier in a rural residential cul-de-sac. Is this possibly within the harmony of this neighborhood? I don't think so. I really don't. And if you question, well, what about the square footage of the golf course? That's 30,000 square feet. What about the animal shelter? That's 25,000 square feet. This is an order of magnitude larger. So you must deny it because of that. If not, please, we'd like to talk with the staff again about this whole thing. Now, as for coverage, let's move on to coverage and density. By the planning group's own words, the major use permit boundary is 4.99 acres. Okay? That is the major use permit boundary. And if you do the coverage of that, it's 190,000 square excuse me, 190,000 square feet divided by 217 square feet, which is 4.99 acres. That's 87% coverage, not 20%, not the 40%. That's 87% coverage of the major use permit boundary. It must be denied because of that. This is ridiculous. So the harmful effects, there's got to be harmful effects. If you have this kind of coverage and an aircraft carrier landing on a private cul-de-sac or a cul-de-sac in a rural residential area, and the thing that the PDS said was that this is going to provide a commercial service. That was the best thing they could say, and there's going to be landscaping. I disagree. This will be a major impact, and just because you're giving them a bathroom and some commercial availability to store stuff is not good enough. And we need housing, not storage. My goodness, people, we keep on talking about we need something there to build on. This would be like having 100 homes across the street, the size of this aircraft carrier landing. There should be 20 homes there for these people. Okay, industrial use. This is an industrial use, and actually on title, the title page dated July 5th, 2022, it says this project, this is by the applicant, by the way, occupancy is S1 storage industrial. Okay, that is what that is, and there should be, this should be strongly discouraged as per the Sweetwater Community Plan. And as for the market analysis, we believe that this does need to have a market analysis because the commercial designation, just because it didn't ask for a specific zoning change, it is changing from a rural zoning, it is putting a commercial venue there. So we believe that this must have a residential, a market analysis for the residential area. We do not need more storage. We need housing.
I'm going to pause your time. You're past your 4 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. I want to thank you for this opportunity to hear us out. Again, my name is Felix Maximus Felix, and I am the chair for the Sweetwater Community Planning Group. And I will commence on page 5. The following Sweetwater Community Plan, the Sweetwater Community Planning Group unanimously voted to deny this project, which passed 12-0. That said, statistically, we find that the Planning Commission rarely approves a project that has a unanimous vote to deny such a project from a local community planning group. To further emphasize the scope of the community plan, the Sweetwater Community Planning Group had a unanimous yes vote to appeal this project that passed 15-0. Interesting to note, our neighbors, the Spring Valley Community Planning Group, also wrote a letter in support of our endeavors to deny this project that also passed unanimously by their group. Despairingly, this proposed project is clearly in violation of the Sweetwater Community Plan. Now, if you do the research, you will find that no other jurisdiction allows self-storage on rural residential. However, you will find, and in agreement, housing would be a good fit. On the item on slide 6 here, according to a Union Tribune article from March 15th, 2025, it referenced that the objective of the Sweetwater Community Plan is to maintain the character of the Sweetwater Community Planning Area as a semi-rural community. And as far as recreation goes, with open land for horseback riding, biking, and hiking trails, we consider ourselves to be the Balboa Park of the South Bay. And on to page 7. Therefore, the Sweetwater Community Planning Group implores the Board of Supervisors to deny this project. If the Board of Supervisors do not choose to deny this project, then the following motion should be considered. County PDS staff shall collaborate with the Sweetwater Community Planning Group to work out the following issues by July 15 and bring the findings to the August 13th board meeting. Number 1, the section on harmony in scale, bulk, coverage, and density under the major use permit section 7358 should be assessed to reevaluate discrepancies. Number 2, a market analysis should be completed. 3, a proper analysis should be conducted to assess if this is an industrial use project for a clear understanding of the issue. And 4, an analysis should be conducted to clarify if this project maintains the character of the Sweetwater Community Planning Area as a semi-rural community. I thank you for your time.
Good morning. My name is John Taylor. I live in Bonita. I'm also on the Sweetwater Community Planning Group. Just to bring to a conclusion of our opposition points. Number one, this project paves over 20 half-acre housing lots. Number two, this project was unanimously disapproved by both of the local elected planning groups, both Sweetwater and Spring Valley, representing some 50,000 residents. And number three, to quote Mark Twain, this project uses lies, damn lies, and statistics to reach an incorrect conclusion based on a flawed initial assumption. In addition, late yesterday, I received a copy of a letter from Supervisor Cox that he had sent to the supervisors. I will, in the interest of time, read to you from paragraphs 2, 3, and 4 of this letter dated April 8th, 2025. This is from Supervisor Cox, former District 1 supervisor. And he said, I would like respectfully to ask the board's consideration in continuing this item until the new 1st District Supervisor is sworn into office. This project has generated significant discussion in the Bonita community and the Sweetwater Valley. Since the Sweetwater Community Planning Group voted unanimously to deny this major use permit, it seems fair to decide on this project after the new 1st District Supervisor is seated. Paragraph 4, I request that the board ask the project's proponent to complete a market analysis before this item is brought back to the board for consideration. Respectfully, Greg Cox, County Supervisor, retired. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We will now call the next group forward. Victor Avina, CJ Rogers, and Brian Sorensen. Again, you will have 10 minutes to address the board. All 3 members of the group must speak during that 10 minutes. Please self-regulate your time with the timer at the podium. Each person in the group may speak for no more than 4 minutes, and if everyone could please come up and state their name for the audio record before we begin the time.
Good morning, Victor Avina.
Good morning, CJ Rogers.
And Brian Sorensen.
All right, just wait, hang on a sec here for the presentations to be distributed. Thank you. All right, good morning, Vice Chair Lawson Reamer, members of the board, DCAO Lynch. My name is Victor Avina with Falcon Strategies, here today with Insight Property Group and the Secure Space Self-Storage Bonita project. With me today is Brian Sorensen and CJ Rogers from the Insight team. And in the ensuing presentation, you'll learn more about the project, but importantly, you'll learn about the extensive community outreach that was undertaken over the last 4 years. This project team is extremely proud of that community outreach that has resulted in substantive changes to the project design. This project is better because of that input, and we're excited to present it to you this morning. If we could go to the, I'm controlling it, so I don't have to say that. So I think staff did a really good job in their presentation showing the vicinity, especially here of the adjacent land uses as it relates to the proximity of the project site. I want to touch a little bit about this 3-mile trade area and how it is underserved for this type of use. This is a 3-mile concentric circle around the project, and you can see 5 self-storage facilities. Please notice that there are no facilities to the south, east, or west, and our team's analysis shows that this area is underserved by 300% in terms of need for self-storage. In terms of community outreach, I touched on this at the beginning of the presentation. We're very proud of this. The project team didn't hire out to do this community outreach. They had members from the Insight group knock door to door and communicate with members about what was proposed, what they'd like to see, and that input is reflective in the project design that you have before you today. This is an example of the flyer that was passed out during that outreach. To continue on the theme of that community input that was received for this project, here you'll see 10 dates where our project team met with the community planning group and received extensive input into the project design, not only into things like the facade, the finishes, but also in terms of substantive site work where the project team lowered this project, created a basement, took advantage of the topography of the site to reduce the top of the project. So now the project before you is lower than the adjacent homes in terms of building height. We'll now go over the evolution of that design process. I'm going to invite up CJ from the Insight team. Thank you.
Good morning. CJ Rogers, Director of Design with Insight Property Group and Secure Space. So I've been on this project for 5 years. And an immense amount of work was done to get to this image that you're looking at today, this project being presented. And I want to share some of those highlights and share some of the continued engagement that we had with the community during that process. Our initial site concept on the left-hand side of the screen there was proposed. You can see that it's geared towards maximizing parking and maximizing the visibility of the site, given its adjacency to the freeway. But as we received more community input, you can see on those subsequent slides, the integration of open space. We have a park in one of them, and residential buffers are starting to get built into the site. And if you move to the right-hand side, you can see the building getting moved again to deal with some of the challenging topography as well. On top of the site plan iterations that were done, we also proposed many architectural iterations with the group. And ultimately, a modern proposition like this one was not pursued. We were urged to explore more contextual design and look for architectural inspiration in the Bonita retail areas and draw upon some of the materials and scales that I've seen in the community. And specifically to have special attention to the Bonita fire station. The red roof and the exposed white rafters and corbels were desired architectural features that they wanted incorporated into the design. So when we redesigned the project, we got the red roof in, the corbels and exposed columns and trusses. This was received positively with the planning group, and we were urged to present this to the larger community. Ultimately, at that hearing with the group, the larger community did not like the red roof. They didn't like the scale of the building, and we were asked to move away from the equestrian-style barn-looking building you see now and redesign the project again. So after 6 months, we went back to the drawing board. Not to be discouraged, we got creative with the building and site design, and in this slide, as I spoke to you earlier, this is where we're able to push the building down into the slope of the facility, of the hillside, and you can see that the building is actually lower than the adjacent residences. The building facade, we also introduced a lot of different schemes, and these were all presented to the planning group. We showed a myriad of painting schemes, different materials. We were reverted back to a different color for the roof, obviously this darker charcoal color. We went through the reflectivity of glass, colors of paint, the colors of doors were all presented. They even asked us to change from blue bollards to yellow bollards to conform to their planning standards. So this is the final materials board as well as physical samples that were delivered to them. These were all selected by the planning group, and I think it's a really good example of the level of detail that was given from them and the level of direction that we received to conform to the planning group's design standards. One other issue that was brought up was the safety for the public. As you've heard, we're incorporating trails around the perimeter of the site. So not only did we have an extensive camera system on the inside of the site, we also opted to put infrared cameras along the perimeter to protect the public safety on the use of the trails. And frankly, this slide is one of my favorite, actually. I'm really proud of this one. We identified with the planning group that this site, its adjacency to the Bonita Reservoir is important because we have 3 different trailheads that all converge at our site. And we thought it'd be prudent that we can connect those and support that confluence of the 3 sites with a public restroom facility to be maintained and operated by Secure Space during the business hours. And so as you can see, our final site, a lot of gracious open space, very, very large setbacks with the trails around the perimeter. And that's how we ended up with the image you see today. A lot of hard work with the planning group. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Victor, and thank you, CJ and staff for the detailed presentation. I will wrap this up in closing. I think we can all see this doesn't look like the typical self-storage building, the big red box or the loud lime green box. This is something that truly fits within the community. I wanted to touch last year on some online social media outreach that we did. So we reached over 20,000 residents over a course of a few months, and 5,000 of those residents reviewed the project information. 123 of those residents submitted letters of support for the project. In closing, just to reiterate a couple of points that we are really proud of is in California, self-storage operation hours is usually 24/7. Sometimes it's 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. We took it above and beyond, and our store opens at 8 a.m. and closes at 8 p.m. We thought that'd be very important for the few adjacent residents, and we listened to them. So the morning hours and the evening hours, there's limited activity. Also, along with what CJ said, the trails, very important for the community. We heard them loud and clear. Those trails connect much of the trails in the greater Sweetwater area. The restroom is maintained by us. The trails are maintained by us. And there's also a huge advantage for being a fire break. So that property is 10 acres right now, and is a very high hazard area, so for fire. And that fire break is going to be great for the community. So with that, we can answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now go to the in-person speakers. As your name is called, if you could please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. We'll be calling individuals in groups of 3. And again, pursuant to the board's rules, since we do have 10 or more speakers signed up for this item, you will have 1 minute to address the board. Please begin by stating your name for the audio record. I'd like to invite forward the first 3 individuals: Alicia Morrison, Anita Mercado, and Burgess Rosedale.
Alicia Morrison. I would like to support the appeal, and here's why. This project is not compliant with the community guidelines in size and function. Government Code 65583, Section C8, requires that a jurisdiction make a diligent effort to include implementing its housing element. Should this goal be to see renters to go to home ownership, this project paves over 20 home lots. It's industrial in nature, which is strongly prohibited. Community plan is the community plan. This project will add traffic congestion and does not fit into the community plan needs. Also, recently there was a PFAS presentation, and this project is close to the Sweetwater Reservoir, which already has a high level of PFAS that is above the normal. So I hope that you will appeal this project.
Next speaker.
Anita Mercado. I live on 5783 Quarry Road, but we own the property next to our 5785. There are only 4 houses on this tiny road, and we own 2 of them. Never, ever, ever in the years that they've been proposing this have they ever come and spoken to us. That is a blatant lie. And they've also been deceitful and manipulative in their attempts to gain community approval. At one point, they flooded Facebook and other social media with their videos. I must have come across it like 15 times. I even wrote a lengthy negative comment and posted them, but of course they never appeared. Anticipating this, I did a paste and posted it again, and it did not appear again. So don't believe what they said about community approval. They're lying. The zoning in this area is RR.5, which I researched says 1 house per 2 acres. So because we have large lots, there's absolutely no need for storage. We have plenty of room for our own storage units. The proposed...
Thank you. Your time's up. As the next speaker comes forward, I'll call the next Couple speakers, Carrie Fernandez, Elizabeth Stonehouse.
Good morning. I'm Burgess Rosedale, 3838 Bonita View Drive, Bonita. Let me begin by stating that every community meeting that I've attended in Bonita has voted unanimously against self-storage projects. So I'm here this morning to do the same. Our history of presenting the rural residential character of Bonita includes monumental and successful efforts by the community to move the 1963 planned construction of South Bay Freeway, SR 54, from the Sweetwater Valley to north of the northern hill boundary where it runs today. Approval of a quarry storage project will significantly raise the risk of crime and its activities for Bonita community. That risk has not been addressed in either the county's findings or in the applicant's plans. Yet planned next to Texas, California has the largest number of documented storage
Thank you,
theft.
sir. That's your time.
Thank you.
Hello. Hello, my name is Carrie Fernandez, and I've been a resident of Bonita for 28 years. I live about a mile from this proposed project. I've also been an equestrian trail rider, backyard horseman for 20 years, and have used the trails frequently in that time frame, in which I've seen a lot of traffic, not only from the road coming from Spring Valley, which this is a very deceptive photo or rendering, and that Sweetwater Road is actually an incline from the 125. So if anybody's ever taken the time to get out there, it's very dangerous. In fact, I live just down the street. I have to be careful even at the light because people run the lights. And I love our sheriff, but unfortunately, we are an unincorporated area. We do not have the traffic control enforcement there. Having additional traffic for this style would be detrimental.
Thank you. As the next speaker comes forward, I'll call the next speakers, Francisco Pena, Harriet Taylor, and Heather Riley.
My name is Elizabeth Stonehouse. I've lived in Bonita for 32 years. As an activist, I challenged the Board of Supervisors and the Planning and Development Services to look at what Insight Property Group, as Secure Self-Storage, plans to do with the Sweetwater River Valley. This is the area that past boards of supervisors have designated the Sweetwater River Valley as a recreational area for the rest of the county. It is they who set up the parks, the riding fields, the ball fields, and all the rest. Now Insight, with little or no insight, has come along and decided not only to build a humongous structure on a tiny piece of hillside, which slopes to the Sweetwater River, but has added recreational vehicle storage to the mix. In all the meetings I attended after asking what was to be done about the leakage from these vehicles, I was never given a straight answer. In all the parks and all the rest of the Sweetwater Valley, you have created a form of paradise. Don't let your current need for money pave our paradise.
Francisco Peña. Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Francisco Peña. I'm with the Western States Regional Council of Carpenters, Local 619, here in San Diego, representing over 7,500 men and women carpenters that are skilled trade. We are in full support of this project, as it will create a lot of opportunities for future carpenters and future tradesmen, which we all know that are well needed within our county. This will provide a lot of opportunity for men and women to at least attempt for that American dream of learning a trade that is well paid, well provided with benefits, and allow for that American dream, which right now we all see that it's further and further away. Thank you. We do encourage that you move forward with this project.
My name is Harriet Taylor. I've been on the planning group since 1999 and dedicated to Bonita. I'm here to share with you that we are rural residential. We need to stay rural residential. There's plenty of other places. We have incoming traffic throughout from Spring Valley. And we have our daily average trips are 10,500 cars through Bonita a day from toll avoidance. So it's only going to make things worse. Let me go through my slides here. Okay, this is the site. Where is it? Okay, we're up. All right, that's the site.
That's your time, ma'am. I'm sorry. You have 1 minute. We have more than 10 speakers.
Well, we don't want it.
As the next speaker comes forward, I'll call the next couple speakers, Jamie Mercado, Jesse Garcia.
Good afternoon. My name is Heather Riley with Allen Matkins. I'm land use counsel for the applicant today, and I just wanted to make sure I pointed out a few things. Many of you know me as a member of the BIA and a housing person. If this site was housing or could have been housing, I would have been here years ago with a different client. This site is consistent with the general plan. This is consistent with the Sweetwater Community Plan. The traffic analysis was done correctly pursuant to your guidelines. I also want to make a comment that there's been a small but vocal minority that has come to you and submitted comments. This is only half of the comments that were submitted in support of this project. That's unusual for something I'm showing up for. Finally, I want to make sure I point out that it is absolutely legal for you to hear this item today. I have a lot of respect for County Council. I hope they've addressed that incorrect comment for you, and you know that you should be able to do your job today. The Planning Commission did the right thing by approving this project. We urge you to deny the appeal and do that too. Thank you.
My name is Jaime Mercado. My family has lived at Quarry Road, like my wife said, for 48 years. And it's 48 years of rural community. Now, one of the things that I have to tell you very bluntly is that the thing that these people these people specialize in lying, giving you nothing but a bunch of bullshit. They say they got hundreds and hundreds of people supporting the project, like the man that wants jobs. Let him find a job someplace else, not at our expense. I personally went and canvassed the neighborhood around there. I only found one guy who wanted the project because he wanted more light. That was it. I went over to the facility that is a self-storage facility right by the swamp meet, and I asked them. I got to talk about 12 people there, and they said, "Yeah, we want it over there because when it just has a problem here with flooding, we would like to have it over there."
Thank you, sir. As the next speakers coming forward, I'll call the next two speakers, Manuel Hernandez and Mark.
Good afternoon, County Board Supervisors. My name is Jesse Garcia. I'm a representative with Carpenters. I'm in full support of this project. Insight Group has made a commitment to using responsible contractors. And what I want to point out is that their track record throughout Southern California has been the same. Responsible contracting, and it pours into, once the project's developed, it pours into the facilities as well, of being above and beyond. And so we are in full support of this project. I urge you to deny the appeal and move forward. Thank you.
Hi, Manuel Hernandez. I've been a Bonita resident my entire life, 35 years a homeowner for the last 10. My generation needs a place to store our stuff. We don't like having, RVs and boats and being hoarders. More importantly, my grandfather would be alive today if Bonita had its own self-storage, so this is very personal to me. He had to go to a bad side of town over in Spring Valley. That's where he was struck over the head and passed away. And I don't think Bonita should have to travel to a bad part of town to store their things, so please approve this. Thank you.
Thank you. As our next speakers coming forward, I'll call the additional two speakers, Mike Clowers and Noah, I believe it's Loester.
So here's
I'll show you. Here's the cover of the Marin County. This is a Marin County, California general plan. This is the cover of it. Real nice rural county. Right inside of the general plan, you'll see the image of United Nations Agenda 21 Sustainable Development. This is not unusual. Well, it's all across the United States. Los Angeles, Agenda 21 Sustainable Development was signed onto as a public relations scam in the history of the world. But it's far more than that. The agenda for the 21st century is a recipe for destruction. It enables and justifies monitoring and metering and restricting our energy and water usage through smart meters, instituting a carbon tax on industry, pulverizing our roads and destroying our dams, sinking our economy, exhausting our military with endless war, diagnosing a huge portion of our population with mental illness and drugging us, bleeding our transportation budget with high-cost trains to nowhere, revamping our school system by inserting sustainable development principles from pre-kindergarten all the way to postgraduate school.
Rosa Corey's expertise is in land use, and this is a scam. They don't care what the people want.
Noting for the record that speaker was Mark. We'll go to our next speaker.
Hello, Mike Clowers, community member of the Sweetwater Planning Group. I'm also District 1 representative on the Traffic Advisory Committee. You're going to hear a lot of stuff about why I shouldn't be there, but my main concern is at all the past community meetings, the majority strongly against this project. I am here to represent the residents and community of Bonita, and I highly recommend you also support and honor the will of the residents of Bonita and reject this project. The animal shelter, I saw some things about the animal shelter today. That's closing. It's going to be not there anymore. I'm not sure why they're bringing that up as a community, facility. And all due respect, staff, I don't think any of them live in our community, so I would hope you would listen to the residents and not approve this project. Thank you.
Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'll call the two additional speakers, Patty O'Mara and Ricardo Sanchez.
Good morning, I'm Noah. I'm a union carpenter, local 619. I am a resident of Bonita. I have a daughter that attends Bonita High. I'm in favor of this project because my daughter and I like to hike this area. We see a lot of dumping of trash and pee bottles scattered all over the place. I love my rural area, country area, and this project is not a threat. The first group mentioned that we need housing, but that is a threat to the rural area, and if this was a housing project, they would be opposed to that as well. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Patty O'Mara, and I've lived in Bonita for 37 years. I urge you to grant the planning group's appeal or to send it back to the planning department to do a little bit more than what I consider a rather perfunctory analysis and full of disingenuous accusations. The Sweetwater Community Plan is a compact that we have with you, our governing body. You are violating the compact, which says this needs to be rural residential. The planning department completely ignored all of these facts in their analysis. This bulk scale stuff, that was all, as somebody else said, and I don't like to say this, but it was bullshit. And that's what it was. The disingenuous adjacent uses, the real adjacent uses there are hiking trails, biking trails. It's the Balboa Park of South Bay. Don't screw us over. These are the residents. Thank you.
Thank you. And as the next speaker is coming forward, I'll call the final in-person speakers. Stephen Stonehouse, Susan, and Victor Diaz.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Ricardo Sanchez, and I'm a representative for the Western State Regional Council of Carpenters. Today, I'm here to speak in favor of Agenda Item 4, the secure space self-storage. I am not a Bonita resident, but I live on the other side of the freeway, Spring Valley. For many years, myself, kids have been through that area, bike riding and hiking. My family, local residents, and people that camp at the Sweetwater Summit walk through that proposed developed land all the time and see the dumping of the trash on a daily basis. This development will bring life and protection to that area of Bonita and surroundings. Rural residential is Borrego Springs, Descanso, not Bonita. I am born and raised in the South Bay. Myself and 40-plus union members as I spoke to that are residents of Bonita encourage you to pass this item forward. Thank you.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Stephen Stonehouse. I'm a 32-year resident of Bonita. Bonita residents have opposed this project at many meetings of the Planning Group. At the Planning Commission meeting in December 2024, 4 of the commissioners, who were appointed by only 2 supervisors, voted to approve this project. However, 3 commissioners, who were appointed by 3 separate supervisors, voted to deny the project. Secure self-storage is not compatible with adjacent areas in size, bulk, coverage, and density. Their coverage is 190,000 square feet. County staff says this is compatible with our golf course, which is 30,000 square feet, and our animal shelter, which is 25,000 square feet. This makes no sense. Staff says the project will enhance Bonita, but not. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. It's afternoon now. My name is Susan Hevelin. I am a resident of Bonita. I have not been paid to make this statement, and I am not going to make any money off of job on this building. With that said, this Goliath came down from Torrance, California, 120 miles to the north. We have a small rural community. We used to be the horse capital of the world. Everybody comes here to hike, to do things. It's a beautiful piece of land, the whole area. They want to build a 3-level structure with RVs on top. That's 1,200 units. That's 1,200 cars on this street with 4 houses. That could be 2,400 cars. Think of how that's affecting the neighborhood. If you go up to the campground and you look down, it's beautiful grass and houses and stuff, and then you're going to see this huge thing that takes up almost 10 acres. It also, they have lights on all night, and that violates. Can I say one more thing?
Thank you, ma'am. Your time's up.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Victor Diaz. Good afternoon, board. The developer, I'm in full support to move this project forward. This item number 4. The developer has consistently prioritized community input, meeting multiple times, not just once, to ensure all concerns are addressed. These meetings were not a formality, but an essential effort to genuinely understand the community needs and adapt project accordingly. The developer demonstrated flexibility by changing the design of the project multiple times to ensure it fits seamlessly into the community vision and needs. The level of commitment shows the developer's dedication to creating a space that enhances the community rather than disrupts it. One of the most noteworthy commitments is the developer offers not only build a public restroom, but also to maintain its long. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. When it's your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted. You'll hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments, and we'll go ahead and begin with our first caller.
All aboard. This item should be postponed till there's a D1 rep on the board, whatever the code says. You're all about equity, aren't you? The company, by the way, even claims the RV storage site is a fire break. What a crock. The environmental findings are a summary, no detail, and the major use permit says it has plot plans, elevations, preliminary grading, conceptual landscape plans, and conceptual signage plans, but none of them are attached to the agenda. The area is zoned rural residential, not industrial, and the planning group voted unanimously to deny the use permit The huge industrial self-storage facility with office building, RV lot, and parking lot is totally out of character with the rural side, and I
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next caller. Next caller is Consuelo. You may be muted.
Consuelo. Wow. Disgusting, scripted, paid speakers in favor. I fully support the appeal. There'd be harmful effects on the wildlife, harmful effects on the climate. The people on the dais here and at Sandag are always claiming to care about the harmful carbon footprint and the environment, using our tax dollars to supposedly combat it. Well, walk your freaking talk and support the people you claim to work for. Listen to the people who will be affected. This is my community, and we do not want or need this eyesore. No to the self-storage facility. If we have to continue to beg and fight for government to listen to the people, then why should we continue to pay our tax dollars to this entity that doesn't listen? We the people fund them. Greed, greed, greed. There will be no facility. Bonita will not allow for this. We are Bonita Strong.
Thank you. We'll go to our next.
Please reminding folks to not clap in the chambers. Thank you.
Hey, how you guys doing? Well, I definitely understand why you're going to go ahead and approve this, or you're going to go ahead and extend it, but you'll eventually approve this, because the union people that went over there and told you that they have the support, those people don't really vote. They just stole their ballot so that they could vote for them. That's it. They have the votes to keep these people in play so that they can get their project pushed through. That is why they listen to the unions and they refuse to listen to the people. I have been asking for 3.5, 4 years to have a meeting with any of these people, including the registrar, and the only thing that they give me is a restraining order and throw me in jail. But they refuse to go ahead and have conversations amongst the criminal activities that they are taking place because they feel that they could go ahead and act stupid when all this shit hits the fan.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Talk about predatory practices. This fits seamlessly into the plan. Are you kidding me? You're going to put a Costco-sized building in a rural residential area, and you claim that you represent the people. No, you represent developers. You represent the union. You represent all of the nefarious entities that are, doing things that are not beneficial to the communities. I mean, we have a severe housing crisis, and you're sitting here acting like there's some kind of dire need for storage, which is totally asinine. And just the fact that you're going to pass this, that's what the people have to understand. They don't represent the people. They're going to get paid off by this just to do it. It's just like in Jacumba when they're putting the solar fields in there, which is going to be coming soon. They paid the people off just to be able to put it in because they all came and said no. And instead of listening to the community, all they did was listen to the developers and try and pay off the people. They could have given each person in the community $1 million to move out of Jacumba just for that.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
This is Kathleen Lippett. It is troubling that whenever the county has a choice to make between the public good or for-profit business enterprises, the community can always count on the county to defer and prioritize business interests. Sweetwater, Springwater, Spring Valley, and Bonita all oppose this project, and that should mean something to the county, but it never does. hope that you will finally stand up for the public that you're supposed to serve. It would be nice to have the community win once in a while. Respect your community planning groups. They deserve it. They have the local knowledge. You do not. There is no way that this project fits in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
Yes, my name is Christopher Allen. I'm an avid hiker, outdoorsman, and San Diego native. And for far too long, we've seen this site treated as a dump area. And to see a developer come in and put together plans and pieces of their project to enrich the community and the outdoor community, I support this project in full, and I hope you do as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate how many people came to testify on this. I want to turn this to my colleagues for discussion. Supervisor Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had some questions for staff. When looking at the map, how does the Quarry Road, how does that get impacted by all of this? And are there going to be any upgrades or changes to Quarry Road, or is it necessary?
Yeah, Supervisor Anderson through the chair. The developer is going to be required to improve Quarry Road. The main improvement's going to be at the intersection. Today, the angle of the intersection is pretty minimal, so they're going to actually basically realign that intersection to be more at a right angle, actually improving traffic operations and sight distance at that particular intersection. Those are all going to be improvements made by the project. They're conditions of the approval.
Thank you very much. With that, I'd be happy to make a motion in support of staff's recommendations.
We have a motion by Supervisor Anderson. Supervisor Montgomery, any comments or thoughts at this time?
Not many comments. I do want to thank everyone for coming out and staying for us to hear this item. I am looking at all the presentations and all the information in front of me, including the signs. And what I do see is it comes down to that major use permit decision form. In addition, with going back and forth with some community members, some that we did hear from today. We did hear community members on either side. And those that live in Bonita. So based on what that major use permit decision form says in attachment C, that there are conditions that the developer made with the community's approval, such as the Sweetwater Community Plan Design Guidelines. Also in that decision form, it reads that the proposed buildings have been designed to be 1- and 2-story buildings in muted tones, very different from the modern design that we saw and that we usually see on storage facilities. There's also a mention of the trail improvements with the community in agreement with that as well. This has been a 4 to 5 year kind of back and forth. So I'm going to go ahead and second the motion.
And then just one other note for the public record. We did receive an errata for item 4, which makes changes to the board letter content and supporting documents.
And what are those changes?
Davia.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I'm going to turn to staff. These were corrections to the zoning and one other edit. Thank you.
Vice Chair, there were some changes made just to correct the zoning designation that was identified in the board letter, as well as how the coverage of the property was calculated. We also made some revisions to that.
Okay, thank you very much. If there's no other comments by anybody, we can go ahead and vote.
And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now move on to the consent agenda. As a reminder, We will take all of these items together, unless my colleagues would like to pull any of them. We will allow my colleagues an opportunity to make any comments that they might have. I will wait a moment as people filter out. Okay, we now proceed with the formation of the consent agenda. Supervisor Anderson, do you have any items you'd like to pull or any comments to make?
I'd like to just make a motion in support.
Okay, thank you very much. Supervisor Montgomery Steppe.
I will second. No comments, no pulling of any items.
Okay, we will go to public comment.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We do have 8 total requests to speak on items on the consent agenda, 3 individuals in person, 5 requesting to speak by phone. For any individuals that requested to speak on the items on the consent agenda by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll go ahead and begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. You will then have 2 minutes to address the board. Please begin by stating your name for the record. Also, when speaking, please identify which items on the consent agenda you are speaking about. I would like to invite forward the 3 individuals, Bill, Dorothea Flanagan, and Mark. And you may come forward in any order.
Mark, on agenda item 2. Rosa Corey was a California expert witness for the Department of Transportation. DPR's goal is to acquire 500 acres of land per year. Rosa Corey talks about government transferring private property into government control and UN Agenda 21. This is her YouTube video title.
Agenda 21 Sustainable Development was signed onto by 179 nations, including the United States, in 1992 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, at the Earth Summit, the United Nations Earth Summit. George H.W. Bush committed the United States to implementing sustainable development, and it has been supported by every president ever since. It's a global plan, but it's implemented locally. Now, you know that just the day before yesterday was the end of the 20th anniversary of the Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit. They had it again in Rio, and of course you're seeing that if you read the papers, they'll say it was a total failure, that they didn't get what they wanted. This is really not true. This has been a very successful program. It is global, but it's implemented locally, and you will see it locally. It is not called Agenda 21, and that's how when you go, when you're questioning your staff, your planners, or your regional planning commission, and they say, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never heard of Agenda 21. Or lately what we're hearing is, oh, that Agenda 21. Oh, there's nothing wrong with that. That's that dusty old 20-year-old plan that has no teeth, it's non-binding, and it's nothing to worry about. That is a lie. This plan is implemented in the United States. It is the biggest public relations scam in the history of the world. But it's far more than that. The agenda for the 21st century is a recipe for destruction. It enables and justifies monitoring and metering and restricting our energy and water usage through smart meters, instituting a carbon tax on industry, pulverizing our roads and destroying our dams, sinking our economy, exhausting our military with endless war, diagnosing a huge portion of our population with mental illness and drugging us, bleeding our transportation budget with high-cost trains to nowhere, revamping our school system by inserting sustainable development principles from pre-kindergarten all the way to postgraduate school, declaring our public lands off limits to humans, changing every land use document in the nation to require high-density housing in city centers.
All right, that's your time, Mark. We'll hear from our next speaker.
Hello, I'm Bill. Before I like to speak, first of all, I think today is a day of jubilation and celebration. It is on this day that our righteous army defeated the traitors, the slave owners, and the Confederates, and it is the day that we should celebrate. I would like to talk on item 3, related to submitting the report on the mileage. So I don't know if you've read the San Diego City's pavement management plan, and in it they talk about their schedule of road maintenance, and I wonder if the county has something similar. So in the city plan, they say that around every 5 to 10 years we'll need to do a slurry seal to make sure that the road is drivable, is usable, and then at the next stage of maintenance, then we have to repave the road. So, and that is not a small amount of money. Asphalt is not cheap. And I really worry that we don't have the funds to even maintain our current roads, and that comes from really poor land use policies. For example, the largest ranch in San Diego, Bonzil, it's in Bonzil, is a 1,400-acre ranch, for a very rich family. Except that the ranch is assessed at 50 cents per square foot, so they pay they only pay hundreds of dollars of property tax per acre to the county and city government and to the school districts. On average, San Diego City is paying $85 per square foot, 85 cents per square foot. The closest city, Vista, is paying around 22 cents per square foot. If it was developed to an average Vista, which is not a high-rise nation, the county would get $10 million more property tax every year just from that ranch. So I would ask the county government to consider how they maintain their roads.
Thank you, sir. We will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. When it's your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted. You will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments. Go ahead and begin with our first caller.
Hey, I hope you don't bribe the judge, who will probably be angry about all the shit you do. Anyway, I like gifts for good. Number one, I like gifts for good causes. It's a pity that you can't identify the individuals for recognition when you identify so many different projects contributed to. You're sending out only 2 letters, which I think is disgusting. 2 thank you letters. The maps provided, number 2, the maps provided compared with others suggest that the area of the proposed preserve includes several sites, such as the Santa Isabel Art Gallery, a service station which appears to be the only one in Santa Isabel, and several private homes.
You still there, Paul? We can't hear you. Paul? It looks like we lost that caller, so we will go on to our next caller.
Okay, I hope you do go back to Paul, because all of a sudden he just got cut off, and it's by your guys' new system. It wasn't by his phone or anything like that. Anything with that? Anyways, with that being said, this is Consuelo, and yeah, regarding the consent calendar and all the items on it, just to reiterate what Mark, those videos that he was showing, that is in fact what all of this is about. It is the new system that they are implementing. Everything is being laid down, the groundwork, the blueprint. We are, ushering in whatever it is they need to accomplish what it is that they want, and all. And we're paying for all of it. Essentially, we are paying to be controlled. We're paying for, not to sound melodramatic, but we are in fact paying for our own enslavement. So the sooner people wake up to this, turn off your TVs, start critically thinking, start doing some research on the videos that Mark Dorian was playing. I mean, at a fast speed. You can go back to the video on YouTube from, this meeting and play it at a slower speed to, in fact, catch what he had played at the podium. So, yep, best of luck to our county, best of luck to our state, best of luck to humanity. This is going to be a rough ride if you continue to just get involved when you're affected. Pay attention. Watch what they're doing. We didn't sign up for this shit. I'm done.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Yes, what Consuelo said and what Mark has been telling you guys is very true. This is the United Nations Agenda 21, but you guys call it the Climate Action Plan. So it's just under a different name, but it is all about controlling the movements. Anytime you preserve open space, it goes to shit. It is not preserved. It is actually pretty much destroyed by the time you take it over. And then anything you're doing with our movement as far as traveling goes in the streets, not only are you not making plans for evacuations that are going to make it so that people can get out safely in a fire, you're making it so that you are impeding their ability to do so and having no plan in place to mitigate that or make people aware of what actually they need to do in the case of an evacuation, especially with the county being a severe high fire zone all over the place. It is very negligent, but that's the things that you guys do. You lie to the people. You want to impede our movements, put us in 15-minute cities, and for those that think that this is bullshit, you really need to look up into this and have the wool pulled back up over off of your eyes because you're being deceived. And it's very disturbing what happened yesterday with the family that came in and you went to go have your staff talk to them. Like I told you, you also had the predators from CWS go and talk to them, and they now are being retaliated against. The mother of those children was denied her visits. They canceled them today. So the things that you guys are doing are further retaliation against these parents for speaking out. It is proving that there is a severe problem and that something needs to be done because you should be able to speak about the abuses that are happening to you, your children, and anybody you know without the fear of retaliation. And that's exactly what's happened at the hands of you guys after somebody came in, expressed their concerns, and you put someone out there to go talk to them that was going to destroy their ability to even see their children any further. This needs to be mitigated immediately. You guys are doing some very neglectful and nefarious things, and it's very sad to see because you get to go home.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Man, oh man, oh man. I could go ahead and prove the fact that you guys don't care. You guys are more interested about the money. Flat out. Did you know that it is possible to make a hemp battery without tearing up the country, without tearing up the thing? Did you know it's possible to go ahead and recycle plastic and turn it back into fuel, and the byproduct is carbon, which could be turned into graphene, which could go ahead and strengthen our roads, and we could actually make profit from recycling plastic? That device was created by Jamal Brown and was stolen by Texas University, which is mass producing this. I went ahead and told Monica about this, and she doesn't support African American people coming up with new inventions. Matter of fact, she wants to go ahead and stifle that information because it goes against her greed, flat out, allowing Texas University to steal his idea and profit off of it and taking it away from him. That's completely fucked up. And what he wanted to do was have every single county go ahead and recycle their own plastic, turn it back into fuel, make it into graphene so that we could go ahead and strengthen our infrastructure and actually make money doing the process. But you guys have no interest in doing that because you want to use slave labor to go ahead and mine the cobalt because you make more money doing that. We could go ahead and use the hemp fields to go ahead as a fire break, a natural fire break, but fuck that. There's no money in that, right? No money in that whatsoever. So let him go ahead and figure out how he can go ahead and, save the country, save the United States, do the things that you guys claim you want to go ahead and act on, but you guys don't even go ahead and implement
Thank you. Your time is up. And Paul, I'm going to go back to you. You have 48 seconds. Let me add that in here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Go ahead.
Yeah, what I was saying is there are all these sites in Santa Isabel, the art gallery, the gas station, and also several private homes, but you don't indicate what will happen to these, so I can't approve. And number 3 is the report of the roads. It's a good report, but in the chart, there's no explanation of why, just that the road was constructed by a private developer. I mean, that doesn't tell me much about who owns it or why, why the change. Anyway, yeah, and then I'd say to the supervisors,
Thank you. Thank you. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on items on the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you very much. And as we had previously taken all of our non-agenda public comment, that concludes
Vote.
Sorry, go ahead.
Vote.
Oh, apology. We have to vote on consent. We have a motion by Supervisor Anderson and a second by Supervisor Montgomery Steppe. Please vote.
And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors who are present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you. And as I began to say before, we have previously taken all of our non-agenda public comment, so this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Next regular meeting of the board will take place on April 22nd at 9 a.m.